And welcome back. Oh, what are you doing? He's taking my stuff here. I'm the,
Sorry.
I do the little
You do the
dance.
finger points.
Yeah.
Right,
you sit there and you fucking let me do this bit, right? This is my bit. This is my show.
Hi, welcome to the Basil.
No! All right, you know what? We're done. We're starting.
Nice to meet you, everyone.
Starting again.
Okay, right.
Welcome. Not really, though. I'm gonna leave that in. Welcome back to the Basil Breen Boombox. I'm here with my very special guest and non-finger pointing person who's just going to sit there now and let me use my next bit of material on him, which is my naming of this man, which I went with because his name is JJ Treanor. Is that your original?
Yeah, that's me, JJ
So
Treanor.
JJ, I was thinking double jointed.
Double jointed?
Yes, and then hashtag 420. Oh, no way!
I actually am double jointed in my thum, so I don't know if you can see that.
Interesting.
Yeah, I didn't plan that.
Is that why you're called JJ?
I could say it is. Yeah, it is. No, I'm called JJ because my name is actually John, and John James. James is my second
John
name.
James.
I just wanted to sound more interesting.
Yes.
To be quite honest, I could come up with a big elaborate story as to why I'm called JJ.
No, it's just cooler.
It just rolls off the
JJ.
tongue. Because then as well, I wanted to separate my music persona from my boring everyday life persona.
Oh, yes. And that's
You
so
know?
interesting. Because my name isn't Basil. It's actually Dunica. My middle name is Basil. But
There you go.
in a similar way, it does. Now, Basil Breen, it sounds nicer. The .com was available.
It was.
And yeah, as you can see.
Yeah. Coming to a bumper
Imagine I
sticker.
didn't even own it. Someone else just owned it. I just
Some
thought
guy selling like carpets or something like
yeah. But it's interesting because my brother, he goes under Paddy Jobsman, but there is something about the persona.
That's your brother?
Yeah.
Oh my God, I see him on LinkedIn all the time.
Oh, no way. Yeah.
There you go.
That's where he's, this is his office.
I'm
really.
in like social media royalty then. Like,
Okay, yeah, well, not with me anyway. He's actually on telly today.
I saw you done a podcast with him recently. I was like, that's a pretty high profile guest. It's just nepotism. That's all it is.
Pure nepotism.
Sure
And I'm
looks-
just like, yeah, make sure you share that, Sean. Yeah. I'm just like, can you tag me as a collaborator? You know, just You know what I mean?
get those big guests in,
Yeah. But there's
cool.
something about the but I like so JJ. This one because I've been thinking a lot about names. Like, why do names sound good? And people talking about naming their children. Like, I'm always going back to children that I don't have or probably never gonna have. But I think 2 syllables is brilliant in a name.
Yeah.
Like, now Dunica Breen, like the Dunica Breen, there's 4. I think symmetrical amount of syllables is actually important for the sort of phoneticism. Like, let's say like a single syllable name is okay. Like if it's followed by another single syllable name.
Like John Dunn.
John Dunn, yeah, just boom, boom.
Yeah.
John, boom. I don't know. There's something about like 3 syllables that's a bit off-putting. But with JJ, I like JJ Treanor.
Yeah, so that's 4 technically, would it be?
Yeah. I'm sure there's nice sounding other syllable number names. But for me, when I'm thinking, why is it sound nice? What is it about it? Well, I think syllables are super important.
They're very important, yeah.
Into how we feel about them, you know what I mean?
100%. And then I also find as well the kind of the initials and like the sound. So like say, for instance, J. I like that I've got J and T because it's like J, T.
Yes!
So it's like, I think that also helps, you know, like say like, okay, so Basil Breen, which we've gone for like, but it's like, it also
that alliteration of the B's.
Because it's how your ear interprets the sound as well. It's like how it hits you. It's like, ooh.
And it's how, another thing that's interesting, and it's something that comes into your songwriting over time. Well, it's something that you kind of discover, I've discovered is that how certain words, like you were saying there, the J's to the T's.
Yeah.
Like how your mouth actually moves from going J, T.
Yeah.
It's like, it's certain, I can't think of any good examples, but imagine I was going from J to like X.
Does that work?
J, R. I have to go X
you
again.
kind of
I have to start again.
Yeah.
It doesn't connect in a weird way.
That's cool.
So in a way, it's like, okay, if I have kind of a better intuition now, and I'm writing. I'm like, these words are moving. Easy in a way. You know what I mean?
They need to flow together. And like, because I've seen you perform as well, like you're singing, and like, you know, you've got a powerful voice, and I think if you're doing kind of powerful singing, you need words like that to bridge well into each other.
Yes.
Because if you start getting tongue tied while you're like,
going,
it's like it doesn't
you can feel it.
Yeah,
as
you
well.
can.
And it feels like awkward. It's like it's like there's something in the way.
Yeah, 100%. I totally get that. And that's myself something I've been trying to work on in recent years is get more conscious of that. Because at the end of the day, you're going to have to, the way it used to be, like, now I wasn't always singer in bands and stuff. When I used to play guitar like for most of the time, like I was in bands from like kind of 16 onwards, like, but I found when I used to be writing songs when I was younger, I'd be like just trying to get like a particular set of words on a page that I had in my head or whatever. But then when you go to sing them, I could never fit them in the sentence or they just sound clunky. And that's kind of what we're talking about now. I'm starting to become more conscious of that. It's like, well, I need to get what I have in my head, what I'm trying to say, but get it in a flow that feels comfortable when you're pronouncing it and it kind of rolls smooth, as opposed to like sometimes you hear with some young bands and stuff, or like guys who are starting off fresh, they try to cram way too many words into a sentence.
Too many syllables.
Yeah,
it's clunky.
Syllables. There you go. That's always the thing. Like, and then like at the end,
there's an extra syllable.
Yeah, and it's just like, oh lads, slow it down.
Yeah. Slow it down. That's just a big one as well. Because even there's a like when I started getting into music, I think I don't know, maybe I've done it around 7 or 8 years, but I say about 3 years ago I started trying to record videos. But I have a video on YouTube that's a few years old, and I'm just like, what am I saying? What am I even saying? I'm just like, and I'm singing, trying to sing too high, it's too fast, and I don't even. It's like, it's mad how I didn't even think about pronunciation or speed. I was singing fast to kind of cover up my limited guitar skills, I think. You know what I mean? I was thinking if I rush, it kind of covers it up in a way, maybe subconsciously.
Yeah, I get that. I mean, I think I used to do that as well.
Yeah.
It's funny when you touch on there about pronunciation, and I don't know if you struggle with this. We're both from kind of North County Dublin, so we similar enough accents.
Yes.
I find something I've become very conscious now. I feel like I'm selling out a little bit by doing it, but TH. Like I'll be like going to this, that, and I found I'm trying to now again. You don't have to sell out your accent. I still leave it in sometimes, but I found I got very conscious of that when I was recording my own stuff. It was like, oh,
I can't, like, that T isn't coming across.
No, like, and it's very harsh. Something like the, and like I was like, well, I tried this. So I did try that a bit, and so in some records I have, but then at the same time I'm kind of like, oh, am I kind of selling out a bit? Like,
no, you're not, because when you can't tell. I do this as well when I'm recording myself. Certain time when I'm like the process I do now is kind of I'll take like my, let's say, the verse, and I'll do that 10 times in a row. But then as I'm doing it, I'm like, all right, that T isn't coming across. So then I'll start going like the. And I'll start even on not even TH words, like words that kind of like with D's in them.
Yeah.
Like the late. Sometimes I'll do it for that as well, instead of like, the problem is. That's what defines our accent in a way, like, because it comes from behind the teeth. Like,
actually, yeah, that's actually mad.
It's interesting, but that's what like a third of a third.
A third of a third.
Yeah. So that, like, T's are something we struggle with to get across. So yeah, I think you're better off going like there. Yeah,
it's funny, and then you only notice as well. But again, it's one of these things. It's like it's your own style, and you choose what you want to do. But I found as well, like, you only realize how kind of mumbly we are. Like we tend to, like, be sort of like blah, blah, mumbling. And it's when you actually have to get clear vocals across. So even probably you get it even with the podcast. You kind of have to really
try and slow it down a bit.
Yeah, big time. You notice that actually when you're abroad, if you run into it, like, I see you have some of the didgeridoo stuff here.
Yeah,
and things.
yeah.
Like,
shout out to my friend Bulger. He sent that from Australia.
Nice.
Actually. Yeah.
Good. They're actually expensive, so that's a good gift.
You want to buy it? No,
yeah, you're going to sell me one of those coffee plungers.
Yeah. Don't be giving it away. Anyway.
He tried a sales pitch on me when I got in here. But I noticed, I was living in Australia for a while, and I really noticed it there, how fast Irish people speak. Because if you'd go out with, say, some like Australian people, maybe who you were working with, and then you'd run into other Irish people, especially after a few beers, like, and then it was very difficult to slow it down.
This is an interesting idea, because if I listen to like, say, Spanish people or Arabic people speaking their own language, it feels like real intense. Like, sometimes, like, Spanish can be like blah, 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 blah,
oh yeah,
like, an Arabic as well is a super kind of. It's probably not, but for me, when I hear it as an outsider, I'm like, oh, that seems real aggressive. But they're just kind of probably saying,
they're probably just
are you coming to the shop?
Yeah,
like, I love you.
Yeah. Oh my God, you look fantastic today.
Yeah. But they did a study, actually. So if you think about language, right, as in, it has a rate of data transfer. So imagine it's like 1 megabyte a second or 2 megabytes a second, right?
Yeah.
So what they found is so the amount of information that I'm able to send to you per second is pretty much average across all the languages. Some languages, like they have to you speak faster, but the amount of data that's transferred,
right.
like information in it, is kind of based. It's average. It's, now, this
So
is
there's like a standard transfer rate for every language.
it kind of falls into the mean.
Yeah,
in a
that's
way,
crazy.
or it's in and around. Now, do your own fucking Googling on that one, you know what I mean? But I remember...
Fact.
It's, yeah, we don't have anyone Googling anything here.
No references here.
Yeah. But it's interesting because with speed, I think, and even with the podcast, I noticed when I'm listening back on the worst version of myself in terms of speaking and articulating ideas when I'm rushing.
Yeah.
When I'm just like, and I'm like, look, and I'm just going crazy. And the same with singing.
Yeah.
You need to actually set it at a tempo where you can actually say the words.
Yeah, I totally agree. And it kind of comes with probably enthusiasm as well. When you're enthusiastic, you really want to get stuff out there. And I suppose that's like anything. The key is trying to keep that enthusiasm, but not be so kind of hyper about it, I guess. Like, because I struggle with that too. Like, I find, like you said, with songwriting, I'm particularly trying to calm it down a bit now with like that kind of getting everything out there. Like, but it's difficult. It is difficult, you know. Like, you notice with a lot of kind of those kind of like business entrepreneur dudes, they all tend to take long pauses and breaks when they're talking.
Yes.
And I'm like, how did he do that? Like,
no ums, no ahs, because we're uncomfortable with the silence. I think
we are. Yeah.
We fill every little kind of crevice of silence that appears with just a to help get us, to bridge us over. And like it's my filler word.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Mine's actually.
Yeah, yours actually.
Actually, yeah.
Take a shot every time you hear actually.
Actually, or like.
But we only know. When I listen to other podcasts as well. After doing this podcast, I listen to it with that ear, and I'm just thinking, he said like. He said this. It's not the end of the world.
No.
So I've learned to. I got more comfortable with sort of accepting that part of me as well. Obviously, I'm still trying to improve it because I think if you're able to better articulate your ideas, you'll be able to make a better difference in the world because you'll be able to like articulate your point of view, and especially these days where it's just like it's crazy, right? Because I've groups of friends like on different aisles of whatever argument you might have, and it's like we're all living in different worlds, and there's beliefs that they have that I'm like, how is that possible? And they're probably thinking, how is it possible that I believe what I believe? And yet we do, and like it's so weird that we all live in this world that we can have such opposing views. And how do we bridge that gap? Well, we have to have conversation. We have to be able to speak and really try to articulate what the point is in a way. Yeah,
no, I totally get you, because like it's funny you mentioned that. Like, we could have similar upbringings, similar backgrounds, but then have such different views. And I suppose communication is the key there, isn't it? Like,
yes, that's why we're here.
Yeah, communicate
today, to show you how it's done.
Listen to us. Actually,
we're gonna change the world.
Yeah, man.
But let's bring it back, right? Because we kind
that's our.
We kind of hijacked mine. Usually, I kind of will go into a spiel about just asking you how did you get going in music? Because you've mentioned bands.
Yes,
I know you've recorded albums and stuff. But let's go back to before Jay, when he was just John.
When he was just a humble John.
Jimmy John.
Jimmy.
Yeah, Jacob Heimer-Schmidt.
Yeah. Oh, good question. Okay, so I'm probably going to show my age a little bit here, but I suppose
this is an old gentleman's podcast.
This is a gentleman's podcast. This is actually brandy. I suppose, I guess, like, I grew up in the kind of like, you know, as a teenager in the noughties essentially, and it was that kind of rock revival, I suppose, in the 2000s where you had like, you know, Queens of the Stone Age and, you know, System of a Down, Tenacious D, all these bands were doing the rounds. There was a bit of a kind of skater, you know, revival going as well here in Ireland. Like, so it was very much a time where like everyone was starting bands when I was growing up, you know. You're either like wearing like a Columbia jacket with a Burberry hat, or in a band. There was kind of no in between really. Like,
you had
so
the chain.
yeah, I was a bit of a hybrid, to be fair. But I kind of me and a lot of my friends kind of got into playing music. Now, we were terrible. Like,
Yes.
I think I remember Argos used to have a guitar pack you could get. It was like a Squire guitar with like a 10-watt amp. I got the Yamaha one. There was two models you could get. So that's how I started off my humble band here, and then going over to like some of my mates' house, about like 60 of us in the kitchen with all the same Argos guitar and amp combo.
So just had different amps as well.
Yeah, and all the same. And then you go in and be like, right, lads, we're starting a band. We're going to take over the world.
Yeah, we're doing it. This is what we're doing.
And then you go in and maybe one guy would have a bass.
Yeah.
And he'd be like, right, well, you can be the bassist. And then you'd literally...
just because you're the only one that has one.
You're the only one that has a bass. And then you'd literally spend about like 3 hours trying to come up with a band name and not actually strum one chord.
That's the team.
Yeah. And then, so that's how I started. I played my first gig in my Christmas concert in school in Fingal Community College in Swords.
No way.
Yeah, so that was where I played my first ever gig with a couple of lads I went to school with. So
what did you go under? Did you just decide on a name for that initial performance?
Oh, I hope Collie's listening. So one of the lads, his nickname was Collie, so we went for 3 bears and a cauliflower.
Shout out to Collie.
Yeah, he didn't like that name though. But anyway, that's how we started our humble beginnings.
It could have been a collie, like a dog. So cauliflower is a bit better. At least it's nutritious.
Well, collies are very intelligent.
Collies are dog. No. If any collies are listening, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I have a collie, so he'll be very offended when he hears this. Like, how dare you call me a cauliflower?
Yeah, I'm sorry. Anyway, please.
So that's how it started. Then some of my kind of friends from childhood, we started a band when we were about 18 called April Space. And we started gigging
April Space?
Yeah. So that's
interesting.
Yeah, we started that was our first name, and then we started gigging around Dublin. Yeah, we played, like, we were going for years, and we played most venues in Dublin, I'd say, at one point. Like, we done Whelan's, done the main stage of Whelan's once, and Fibbers were in there nearly every second week. And
no way.
I don't know if you remember the Slaughtered Lamb and Swords. I
don't remember shit.
Yeah, that's good.
I'm only getting on the scene. Like.
So there was a pub in Swords used to be called the Slaughtered Lamb. It was a great venue back in the day. There used to be loads of bands from all around kind of Dublin playing there. We used to play there a lot. So that's kind of how I got into it. And then the years went on, still playing, but then kind of I took a break from it for a bit recently, and then kind of started COVID. Just before COVID, I kind of picked up my guitar again.
Started COVID.
I started COVID. It was me. I needed a bit of time off work. So I had a bat. No, listen. So yeah, then I started writing solo stuff kind of around 2019, 2020. And then that's kind of... Now, I'd actually previously done solo stuff, but I was still in bands at the time. But around 2019 is when I decided I'm going to go out and just do my own thing.
Brilliant.
So that's a very long drawn out.
So that was 2019. You decided JJ.
Yeah. So I kind of had actually. So I kind of I'm jumping the gun a bit there.
Yeah,
so
you're great.
2016 or 2017, I'd started messing around with electronic stuff. I started recording stuff. So I actually released a kind of EP under JJ Treanor then. Yeah, it was the first kind of album release called ATM, and there's I was doing a bit of acoustic stuff on it as well, but I was messing around with a lot of electronic sounds at the time. But I was still playing in bands at the time as well, so it wasn't my primary, it was kind of a side project.
Yes.
Then when kind of just around 2019, just before the kind of big global lockdown happened, I said I actually kind of really enjoyed the solo process, simply because there's pros and cons to being in a band and being solo. Because in a band, you have other people to bounce ideas off, and it's not just you all the time who couldn't put the ideas. But then at the same time, you also have to work with other people's personalities and egos, and
you have to
things
decide
like
on band names.
You have to spend.
If you have to get everyone to decide on one thing, so band names might sound like that's a bit of a joke, but it's all them little decisions, and it becomes decision fatigue in a way, because everything has to be run through the committee, and then one person just has to be like, I don't like that. Yep. Even though, and it's just like, all right.
Everyone else like, this is a fantastic name, but that one guy's like, nope, I don't like it.
I know, and so that's the problem with I've had that issue as well, just in my own life. Whereas on solo, it's like, okay, yes, you've less kind of creative juices flowing. Maybe you're not going to be the next Beatles, but at least you can do your own thing. Exactly,
you're in charge of your own destiny in a weird way.
Yeah, exactly. And you don't have to rely on anybody. That's why I like this podcast, even though it's a bit finicky. Like I have to do all the I'm looking at the audio being recorded here, just make a monitor and stuff.
Pretty professional job. I mean, look at this. Like,
but that's the thing. But this evolved over time. But the fact that I can just do it on my own and I don't have to rely on anybody to just set it up, and I think it's actually something I've been thinking about recently as well. The fact that it's just us two here adds another element, like, because it's just like there's no one else watching except for you, except for me in the future.
Yeah, and the 17,000 people there.
But I think that who knows what kind of other little bit of secret like sauce that's kind of sprinkling in. But just going back to the solo endeavors, then what did the band kind of just dematerialize?
Yeah, so there was one shout out to Warren if he's listening. So one of my
Warren
good friends,
Nice.
yeah, a good friend of mine. So guy I grew up at Warren Finn, great, absolutely fantastic musician. He's bass player and one of the best singers I've ever played with. Fantastic singer. We were playing together right up until recently enough, to be fair. Like we still do a bit from time to time. But I suppose the older we got, life just kind of starts getting away, you know. People moving to different cities and different countries. It's kind of one of those things. It's very easy to do in your early 20s or late teens because you don't really have anywhere to be.
Yeah, no real responsibilities.
No, and then I think the older we got, it's
like, what am I doing?
Yeah, literally, you're like, and everyone's like, oh, so how much are you getting paid for being in a band? It's like
what?
Money?
Money?
You make money? So and I think people, they kind of meet spouses, they move into houses.
Because they're like, geez, I need to start thinking about house. I need to start thinking about all this extra stuff.
And I guess that's really the answer. Just life got in the way a bit. So, and then even for myself, I found I was.
But life changed in a way. Life changes for all of us.
It does, and sometimes for good, you know.
Yeah.
But I suppose that's it. Like I didn't have any I wish I had some juicy story like, we had a big betrayal.
Yeah, no.
The band broke apart. It wasn't that at all.
Slept with my miss.
Yeah. So then I slept with his and then it was a tit for tat. No, it wasn't anything like that. Yeah. I should have come up with a real juicy story before I got here. It's like
no.
I stole the rights to my songs.
No, because that's
it's like Lennon McCartney was it's like
no, we're not that high profile. We're just in North Dublin at the moment. But,
there's no money involved. That's why it wasn't so juicy, you know.
But it's it's like a shame that sort of creative endeavors, in a way, they're so fulfilling and so rewarding, but yet it's hard to kind of keep them sustainable in the global economy.
It is because you need to do a day to day to kind of get the money rolling in, and then the thing as well is. It's that fine line as well. Then, if you did get to a point where, say, you're getting loads of money for it, will that kill the creativity then, or will then, kind of the beauty of what we were saying we're doing here? You're master your own destiny and you're in charge of things. But then, if you get to a point where potentially you are making loads of money, then do other people start stepping in, trying to make decisions for you? You know.
Well, there's a lot to be considered here because this is something I've been thinking about just as I'm recording my first album, actually, right? So,
and
I'm listening to more. Music again. I'm actually this year. I listen to loads of podcasts. Right. I think sometime in maybe about when I moved to London, that's when I started listening to podcasts. And I used to listen to loads of music before that, and then suddenly podcasts came in, and now I'm realizing I haven't been listening to enough music. So now I'm going back to music in a way, and I'm going back to albums and art and just doing deep dives on artists. So what I'm finding, it's interesting because. You might let's say MGMT Oracular Spectacular, right? One of my favorite albums ever, right?
Album,
The second album had it wasn't it couldn't compete with that first album in a way, but it's like what? And then the third, anyway, there's and then even Empire of the Sun had a great first album, and then I know it might be still great. The other albums might be great to other people, but they didn't have the greatness of the first one. And then I was just thinking, what happens? Is it that they just want to... Did it get in the wrong way? As in, I need to make something drastically different now because I've done this in a way.
Yeah.
I'm actually getting... I'm like, oh my God, let's say this first album, right? I have songs that I really like and believe in. The next album, a part of me's already thinking I need to go out to the woods and start writing some music again. I don't want to just I actually want to keep the train going.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
In a way. So I'm thinking, what are they? So what you do touch on them there, maybe the influence of success in a way. I don't know.
I think that definitely is a factor for sure. I think you particularly notice it with the kind of newer generation, like the MGMTs and Empires, so that generation, because it was a lot more corporate then, and that was kind of the tail end of the record company / kind of going into streaming. So I feel by that stage, there was probably such clauses on like, you know, contracts and stuff.
Yeah, you need, yes.
You kind of see it, like I'd say it 100% has a factor to do with it. And then probably money creeps in as well and
Yes.
stuff. Do you know what I'd say a big part of it is too? Is they probably lose a bit of their hunger as well.
Yeah.
It's, I don't know if you listen to much Pink Floyd, but I remember watching a documentary about it with was it David Gilmour, Roger Waters? One of them from Pink Floyd were saying that's what they wrote Money about, the song Money. Yeah, great tune. But they'd hit a point where money was no longer a driving factor for them. And it's kind of like, well, what kind of drives us now? Like we our drive was to get that kind of fame and success.
Yes.
Then they got that.
Then it's like,
and like, well, now what's the?
There's no carrot at the end of the stick.
Literally. And then
I got the carrot
because I'd say, you know, when you're kind of struggling, you're going to your mate's shed to practice and stuff like that. Yeah. That's probably when it's the most like raw and authentic, you know. I say then when like you're kind of being picked up and like, you know, like company cars and limo stuff being brought to studios, like probably that hunger dies a bit, I'd imagine.
There's a boxer, I forget who it is, could be like Shane Mo. Not that I'm very much affiliated with boxing, or I don't have a clue.
Knock me out.
Yeah.
Shut up.
That's coming next, the fight. But no, he said it's hard to wake up at 6 a.m. And run when you're waking up in like silk pajamas in a way. Yeah, something like that. So it's losing your hunger is very interesting because this is what I've been trying to think. What is now? Like, I've actually nearly over this period like of reflection of the new year and everything. I went too deep on meaning and purpose and trying to figure out reality in a way. Not that I was just like, what is the actual fundamental drive? So I was listening to like Jordan Peterson. He did this speech at it's only recent. Like, he does it at Epictetus, right? But he starts talking about like God as this kind of fundamental ideal that is like you aim at that. That's your ideal, and that's what you're shooting for, and you're trying to bring forth the most good out of this life. And then what does that look like? And what would it look like if you did everything in aid of trying to achieve like the highest good, whatever that is to you? You know what I mean? And I was just, it's weird because then I start becoming, in a weird way, it's like when you meditate or you're this idea of the self in a way. I started becoming sort of slightly disillusioned with me. As in Basil, as in the creature that
the entity
I started being like, I started getting a sense for what it was like to experience me as just a movie, let's say. And I'm just watching this movie, and I really I've come through it a bit now, but it was kind of a bit destabilizing only a few weeks ago, because I was like, whoa, is this like what it's going to be like to get a psychotic break? Even talking about it now. But in a way, it's like, what is the fundamental drive? Like, why are we doing this stuff? And I think a big part is always trying to, like, I think the fundamental thing is survival at its root, and survival across time with creative work is like it's something I think that's embedded. It's the only thing that could survive past us. So I think a fundamental understanding of the transitoriness of life is a kind of driver. And then but now I actually want to, like, what I've known this for a while, but I just want to make, it's like if my life was a garden, I want to make it the most like beautiful garden that I could make it. Even if I only have a few seeds of whatever, a bit of water, I'm going to make it the fucking, like, the best garden that I could possibly make it with what I've been given in a way.
Yeah, of course, man. I think that's a very healthy outlook to have, because it's all like, I think you touched on a really good point there about a lot of this stuff is probably deep rooted in survival instincts that we don't even realize.
Yes.
And there's probably like a sense of longevity. We want to leave behind something beautiful, something good for people, you know, however talented we are at things or whatever. Like, I guess that's probably a drive for a lot of creative people without them even realizing. They probably want to leave behind stuff.
Just because subconsciously they're reading people like that have already passed on, the great works and everything, and it's like subconsciously you know that that's the only thing that could ever survive past your death in a way.
Literally. And some of the greatest like artists and creatives have barely made it past the age of 30, like, you know. And here they are, like, maybe 100 years later or whatever. Like, you know, you look at some of the classical composers, like scientists, everything, like some of these legacies that could be left behind for so long.
Exactly. And some of them were only rediscovered in a way. In old books of poets, like and even like even philosophers and everything, like Nietzsche and stuff. Like no one cared about certain people when they were around.
Van
And it's
Gogh's
so-
a great example of
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
He
yeah,
died
yeah.
broke. He had nothing.
That's
like,
the thing, and it's so interesting. But like fundamentally, like it's kind of an illusion in a way, because we're living in a time of, okay, this is like a brief period of time where you can kind of say, oh yeah, look at 100 years ago, 200 years ago. But if we survive the next 10,000 years, like
we'll be gone.
there's
like.
too much. There's too much to remember. How much history is
Yeah.
gonna happen?
This is like going back to what you're saying about like kind of getting that like existential crisis where you start thinking too much about these things, and it can just destabilize you. Like if I
Yes.
start thinking about how irrelevant we are, like,
Oh yeah.
but it can do two things. One, it can completely like make you just feel like, oh my god, I'm so relevant. But then at the same time, it can also be sobering too. You're kind of like, okay, like I'm irrelevant. Like in the greater scheme of the universe and all that stuff, I'm just a speck in time. But then at the same time, it's like, okay, I'm just going to enjoy the rare time I am here.
Yes, but so the way this is what it is. It's a flip. It's a flipping of that reverse. It's reversing that in a way. This is what I've come to realize. So your role in the grand scheme of the universe, like you might your role is not there. It's actually in here. Your role is to do the best within the universe within you, and you have been given this life in a way to potentially make to create the most out of it, because you can't create like planets, you can't create the stars, but what you can is create I think a beautiful story. I think fundamentally, like, what's the story that you are living, and what is the story that your life is going to be at the end? And I think trying to make that as cool and I'm loving and kind of like, because you hear about Hitler, like, no one wants Hitler's story.
You could veer either way on that path. Like, try veer away from that side.
Exactly, yeah. But we have it in our power to, because it's very interesting, the idea of death, because when you really realize the sort of definiteness of it in a way, I don't think, like, I've thought about it, like, it's not a day that I don't think about it really. You know what I mean? It kind of pops in, and but like I realize I'm going to die, so that means I need to fucking start doing things.
Yeah.
It's like the ultimate full stop. It's like people don't realize it. Like,
I actually, it's funny you mention it. I have a line. There's a song, I actually haven't released it yet on any platforms. I played it a couple of weeks ago, and it was actually at the Flow show in town in the Workman's, and it's basically a rap song I do. I know. I'm also a rapper.
I knew it.
I know. I look like
Warren G reference.
Oh man, yeah. You know, like I'm repping my gang.
Yeah. Shout out to Pennies.
Shout out to Pennies and Swords. But there's a line in it, actually. It's so funny. It's oh god, I can't even think of it off the top of my head. I should know my own lyrics, but it's like
you gotta know them.
What's it? It's the stability. It's like, I like to say I don't think about it much, but for me, mortality, it's like a crutch. There's stability in the knowledge that there's only a limited time, so choose every single day to be in your prime. That's the line, you know. But it's basically saying that, like, okay, like yourself.
Yes.
I didn't expect this to be such a theological, like, you know,
who knows?
Like this is like, you know, discussing like life and death and existence. But I do like yourself. It creeps into my head from time to time.
Yes.
And then it can be a very scary thought. I was like, oh god, like there's going to be just a final moment, and that's it, and it's done. But then, like I mentioned in that song, it's like it's it's crutch almost, because like it helps you get through it too, because like, okay, well, I do only have a limited time, so it's like, let's not fuck around, let's actually do stuff, you know.
It gives it the poignance.
Yeah, it does. It's like a never-ending story. If there was no end to a story, you'd just get bored.
It wouldn't be a story.
Yeah, it would just be just a continuous stream of nothing. So that I totally get, like, when you're explaining that, like, it resonates with me so much, because like I'm glad to know I'm not the only one that thinks about that stuff. You know?
Well, you hit on such a good point there, because if the story never ended, then it wouldn't be a story. So the reason why we gravitate to story, I think, is because there's knowledge in a story that can help us hopefully better navigate our own lives in a way. But there's something, I think, fundamental, like the fabric of our existence. There's something about story in a way that's so sort of embedded into life itself in a way, like the start and the end in a way. Like it's like they're actual parts of our life, and it like mirrors story, because it not just mirrors story, it actually is story in a way.
100%.
And I think it's that's a great. I'm just thinking about it a bit more, but I think that gives it. It's the most harrowing and also the most beautiful part of life, because it gives it the beauty in a way. Like the fact that your story is like a burst of flames and then it kind of extinguishes. It's like so fucking beautiful.
It is.
Isn't it? Like
it is.
it's like the fact that everyone we know, it makes everyone's life that much more beautiful.
It does, and each story is so unique.
Yes.
Like the person behind like brick and mortar next to you could have just a completely different existence. And like we kind of assume that a lot of us, I suppose a lot of the time we don't really think about kind of, I know it sounds selfish, but we're usually so invested in our own journey. We kind of don't really stop to think about other people. And everyone's, like say you're sitting on a bus, each individual on that bus could have had such a different day. Someone could be having the best day of their life. Someone could have got the worst news ever. Someone could be about to do something that's about to change their life. And that's the beauty of it as well, is how different each one is.
Yeah.
And how some are like, some people, are really well known. Some people are kind of very humble. But the fact is, none of them are more important than each other. And it's just a whole unique plane. Yeah, it's super interesting. And,
just different like iterations of experience. That's the thing. That's why if you're looking for, like, let's say outward success in a way that's measuring you against something out there, it's not the right way to do it. Like, it's a measure. You need to measure here.
You need to measure against yourself
in a way, because it's literally you are the only one that can be you, and everything is like, it's like, imagine the external world didn't even have humans in it. Like, it's only because they have humans in it that are doing things that you compare them. But if it was just you, then you'd just be doing your thing, and whatever that is to you. And we get kind of we get sidetracked, and we think happiness is kind of out there, or not even happiness, just fulfillment in a way.
That's
but
the
I think
big one, isn't it?
we have to listen like this, because this year is the first year I've kind of I went kind of more all in on the music in a way. Like, I was kind of, it's more a hobby now, it's more full time in a way. Like I'm dedicating more time. I'm working, like, let's say a real job like 2 days a week now.
Yeah.
And the rest of the time is like podcasting and music stuff, you know what I mean? So but that's I've never felt happier in a way. Like I've never felt more like I'm actually, there's no kind of disconnect between like that feeling that I'm not doing what I should be doing in a way. I actually feel like I'm finally doing what I wanted to be doing in a way, at least for this period, like until life gets in the way.
Yeah, and look, the thing about it is, things creep in, but it's about setting yourself up that you can still pursue. Because, like, I find that over the years, things have kind of got in, like, like you get a bit more settled. Like, and then there's other parts of my life I enjoy too. Like, I love traveling. Like, myself, my girlfriend, we try to get away as much as we can, like just on little weekend breaks. Ryanair's fantastic for that. Yeah. No, it's not great for anything else, but it's good just that you can do.
Gets you from A to B.
Yeah, and on a budget.
Stop complaining.
Yeah, get over it. Like, go back to the 90s where you had to pay like €500 to go to Spain, like, or £1, should we say.
100%.
But so like there is parts of my life that I love and I like to pursue, but I do always like to keep, say, like, music was always my creative outlet, and I do a bit of photography and stuff as well, but I always like to keep it in there. But as time goes on, it gets more difficult, but you also have to get better at kind of juggling those things too, because if you want to do something you love, you'll find a way to make it work. That's the way I feel about it. And so I intend to keep always doing music, regardless of whatever. I can support it with other things around my life in a way. And it's interesting because you've managed to actually record and release an album, which is like such a fucking milestone in a way. I'm in the process of doing it now, but like, it's such a cool thing to have done as with your time on this planet, to have done an album. Like, how? So I really want to get into this actually. So it looks like it was released in like 2021, I think. That's right, it was indeed.
And just it was like No News Today. Yes, No News Today.
That's the one.
So first of all, the name No News Today. I don't think any of the tracks were called No News Today.
No, I actually had funny enough, that line I just recited to you, that was actually going to be in it. And that song, so basically, I'll give you a background. Thank you so much for checking it out.
Oh, please, yeah.
It's always good to know, like, even if one person checks it out, I'm like, yes,
exactly.
Thank you.
And because, so this is another thing, just because I read one of your posts saying that, it's not that if one person likes it, then that's enough. It's because if one person likes it, then that means it actually like many more people than one could like it, but they just haven't heard it in a way. And that means that you've done something that connected with humanity at a deep level. One person is more like an indicator that because everything's scale. Like if everyone could listen to this album, like a billion people, you get a massive percentage of them that would be like, oh, I like that, because you've already kind of proved that if one person, like out of a sample size or whatever. So just you triggered that idea of that's why it's good. If you can make an impact with one person, that means that not just you connected with one person, but you potentially connected with humanity at a deep fundamental level. But anyway, go back. Sorry.
No, I love these. Like, we're just really exploring.
I know, yeah,
the world, the universe. But that's what it's all about, man.
Yeah.
And I appreciate that. And that's, look, at the end of the day, like yourself with your album, like, you're doing it really for yourself at the end of the day, And if other people can resonate, that's, job done times 100, because all I want to do is, the way I was feeling at the time, I wanted to get it down on like paper, on audio, whatever it was. And I did that. So the title No News Today, I suppose I might as well explain where that comes
please.
from. So I mentioned I kind of started going more focusing on solo kind of the end of 2019. And then just in time, timed it perfectly for a global pandemic. Didn't plan that. That's just as I said.
No news today.
I started COVID, but that's essentially where it came from, because I was locked away like everyone, kind of in my home. And the only thing, and I actually think back, and if it wasn't for having that kind of creative outlet to make music stuff, I probably would have cracked up.
Wow.
Because because I used to always complain about not having time to record. I used to always complain about not having time to do stuff. Then I was like locked in my house. I was like, right, well, I can't complain about that. So I was like, I need to do my music, because if I go through this pandemic and say like, I didn't get time.
You're just a disgrace.
Yeah, that's a lie. Like, so I sat down and I started recording. I planned on doing like maybe 3 or 4 songs. It turned into 10 songs.
10, yeah.
I should know this.
I'm only recently so I'm a bit more savvy with it. Like,
but while I was recording it, there was all the doom and gloom going on in the world. The pandemic, and then there was all people getting laid off and stuff. So like every time, now I wouldn't be a man that would watch the news too much, but like us all, I think our generation looks more on the internet and digests our media that way. So I found I was just getting so much negative energy coming from all. Yeah, like it was all negative information. I was just like, I remember just like closing my laptop when I was like, no more news. I was like, I'm just gonna focus on this. And then I was like, actually, yeah, because the album kind of became
news today.
Yeah, it's like no news today.
Fucking brilliant. Because it's actually what I'm doing. The album is what I'm doing.
Yeah, that was my distraction from the doom and gloom.
No news today is literally, it's the act of recording and producing the album.
Yeah, so that's where it was. So yeah, that's pretty much it. And you're recording your own album now.
Yes, I will get into that in a bit. But because I'm going to be fucking plugging that for the next 20 episodes.
Yeah, it's like, guys, Basil Breen's album.
But what was the process of like recording that album? Like, what was your setup like and stuff like that?
Quite humble, to be honest. I'd like to say,
it sounds good.
I just took my time with it, because I've been in studios over the years. Like I was recorded in Temple Bar music studio before. Fantastic setup. Another great studio I recorded in was Camelot Studios, just out behind Castleknock direction. Like I've been in a couple of different studios over the years. Fantastic setups, but the problem I find with studios is you are usually on a budget. Like, so say if you're like an amateur musician, you're kind of, you don't have
you're rushed with time.
Time is the killer.
Yes.
So you're going in and you've got maybe like 4 hours, or maybe if you're,
and then that,
and you don't have time to like. We discussed this off camera, but you were kind of saying that like you were being a bit perfectionist with your stuff. I find when you go into a professional studio now, unless you have a well-oiled song, which some people do, and they go in and they really capture the magic. But I find I need a couple of takes.
I need loads of takes.
Yeah, and then I need to go for a walk that night with my dog and listen to it and be like, oh, I don't like that. And then I'll go back and I'll change it. Like, and that process can go on for weeks, where I'll think I have a fantastically well-oiled song, and then I'll be walking on the beach the next day or something, or a week or two later, and I'll listen to it. I'll be like, ugh. It's like, what is that? What is that noise? Is that me singing it? And then I'll go back and re-record it. And I feel with a studio, you like, unless you're with a huge label who's thrown millions, and you can spend as long as you want to, you don't really get that freedom.
Yes, so it's pressurized.
Yeah, exactly. And I find sometimes that
music isn't made on a pressure cooker.
No, it's not. And that was probably the big advantage I had with recording myself. So in a long around the world way to answer your question, I used quite a humble setup. I had kind of like an audio interface. Now, over the years,
Saying
it
a
kind of
Sonus,
pre-Sonus. Yeah, it's
Pre-Sonus.
just a run of
Yeah,
the
yeah, yeah,
mill,
yeah.
cheap like
I like
audio
just now.
interface.
I like just hearing the name, so I can just like it adds.
But you know what? Like it's not like it was a big like €1,000
Yeah, it's
rig
just
or
an
anything.
interface like this little thing here.
Almost
the
a carbon
foresight,
copy
yeah.
of that one. Like it's
Yeah.
identical.
Yeah.
I did have a couple of equipment that we gathered up over the years of gigging. Like I have like drum mics and things like that. I have a pretty decent condenser mic as well, which
Okay.
I use for a lot because I did a good bit of acoustic stuff on it.
What mic is it?
Oh, you put me on the spot now. I can't think of the
I
name
don't
off the top of my
know,
head.
yeah,
I bought it
yeah,
on
yeah.
Amazon. I just like
Interesting, yeah. You just research and
yeah,
just say,
I
oh,
just
this is the one.
kind of what's kind of best for kind of a lower budget for home recording, and I just got that one. And,
Brilliant.
so yeah, done the job, and then that was pretty much it. And then just took my time and mixed it. So
What was your recording space like?
So wouldn't be very dissimilar to what your setup is here. I kind of had like there was a back room that actually over the years had transformed into different rooms, but at the time it was mainly being used for drying clothes. Like that's where you'd put, and kind of like I actually used to store a lot of my music equipment in there when I wasn't gigging and stuff. So then, like a lot of people, and I keep mentioning about the lockdown, but that's when I kind of had a chance to say, okay, I need a space. So I took that room and redesigned it. I was like, okay, and I set up a little recording studio and recording studio.
Yeah, but whatever.
It was my
It was your recording studio.
Exactly. And then I go in there and then just lock myself away from the world and record. And it took me about a year, I'd say. I spent a full year on it. And then I released it in November 21. So, well, actually, nearly 2 years. But I think I had it kind of finished around mid 21. But then I kept adding songs on. I kind of start an idea. What used to happen actually, and you probably find this happening with yourself.
Yeah.
You'll go in to work on an idea that you already have, and then you might come up, maybe you'll be tuning in or something, you might come up with a little riff, and like, oh, I like this. Then I just open up a new file and start recording that, and then before I knew it, it's another song. And I'm like, oh, okay. So what originally had planned to be 4 songs, I think I was aiming for about 4 or 5 maybe, turned into 10. And then I had about 13 or 14, and I ended up not putting them in the end. So I have material that I'll probably end up using.
So you just felt that these 10 songs are the album.
Yeah, because I had 2 or 3 other ones that this. Now I know if you listen to the album, there is kind of conflicting styles in there a bit.
But for you,
with the other ones, I was like, no, these are a bit out there for this. I'll leave these for a different.
There's something in you that's saying that these aren't on the album.
Yeah, this isn't their album.
Yeah, it's so weird, and that could be based on. Just a weird kind of because I've been trying to get to this, but the bottom of this as well. Because first I'm not recording the music for mine. I'm just doing. I have the songs, so I'm like I send like a guide vocal and guitar track to this guy.
Nice.
BPM. He's created all the tracks, but it is like good. Like
professional.
It's fucking brilliant. Like for my taste anyway. So what were we saying there?
So we were talking about.
It's getting too into my.
Okay, yeah, songs being on different albums.
So I did a test song with him first, which was a kind of new song that I did, and then I was like, all right, that worked out with him. I thought the sound of it was really good. I showed a few people, are like, oh, this is way like because I had another producer guy before. And it was just, it was good, but this guy has taken me in a kind of more, it's more in line with like Basil Breen, you know what I mean? He's got this, like, it's more, I'm like a computer nerd as well, so there's more synthetic elements in a way, you know what I mean? Like I'm more like a ones and zeros quantized kind of guy in a weird way.
Guy.
Yeah, exactly, yeah, I'm not, yeah, so it kind of matches up a bit more like that, but then I was like, all right, that song's going to be separate because I have the album already planned in my head. But then I was like, like this song. At first, I was like, I can't, because the plan is now to release, let's say, singles from the album. Because he's kind of a marketer guy as well. How I kind of came about him and stuff as well is very interesting. Shout out to Rob. I'm going to have him on the podcast to discuss everything as well. Nice. But there's kind of like a methodology to releasing it in a way. So it's with singles. But I was like, all right, I'll release that first one and then start releasing the albums. But I was like, I'm gonna have to put this on the album now. So now it's 13. But at first I was like, oh no, I can't touch them. There's something. This is interesting as an artist or whatever, creative. Like I used to feel that songs when I wrote them, that was it. They were set in stone. It was like I etched the lyrics onto some bit like a parchment that could never be touched.
Yeah, it's like in the clouds. It's like,
it's over. It's all. And then but then I've obviously now I've kind of changed. Like songs have changed like over years, where it's like that's not sounding right, or this I need to change that. So I've become less kind of precious in a way. It's hard to explain.
Yeah, there's actually a phrase, I don't know if you ever heard of it. I forget who said it. Was it Stephen King or someone said you have to
kill your darlings?
kill your darlings.
Yes.
That's the one. That's the exact phrase. Okay,
Yes.
Grant, I was like, I'm probably going to butcher saying this, but that's exactly what it is. You have to be able to kill your darlings. So something you're probably the most precious about is usually the first thing you should change.
I know, because you know it has to go.
Yeah,
but you've worked so hard on it.
No. And it's like, but then when you do listen back to it years later, like, oh, actually, yeah, maybe I shouldn't have been so precious. But
the reason you're the reason you're thinking about killing it, that's already telling you that you should be killing it. But there's something in you that doesn't want it because of maybe it's like it's not honest to the creative work, or it's we've put so much time into whatever the thing was. And it kind of prevents you.
It does. But I suppose the way I've kind of started thinking about it lately is like, you're not killing the work. That work was just the foundations for how great it's going to become. Yes. So it's not like you're just taking this and like putting it into like lava and saying you're dead forever. No, it's like that was important at the time you made it to you and what you're doing. It's like, and now by changing it, you are just...
It's just part of it.
Yeah,
it's part of its journey in a way.
That's it. It's
and
evolved.
It's kind of it's evolved in a way.
Yeah,
I think that's a brilliant way of saying it, because it's never, everything's kind of like a first draft in a way. And everything, if you think like the reason, let's say, okay, creative work, we kind of separate that and we say that that had a start and an end. But, the real start happened when we were born. In a way, and then the real end happened when we decide it's over. In a way, we never have to. Art is never really finished in a way.
You never,
because you can always add or can always evolve. Or there's this really good line that I always say as well on this podcast. Probably I say a lot of the same stuff, but who cares? Is
you can get like catchphrases. Like
basilbreen.com. That's what I say.
That's my
it's
catchphrase.
Like I always say,
basilbreen.com. It's like my old dad used to say to me.
basilbreen.com. Son, basilbreen.com. All right,
whatever you do, son, basilbreen.com.
Oh man, that's legendary. No, but art is the record of the exploration, because I found like when you're writing and stuff, right? You're not like. You're like, let's say you're actually trying to look for something in a way. You're actually you're looking for something that is to your taste, let's say. So you're hoping that your brain is going to generate a sentence that you like, right? Or a melody that you like.
Yeah.
But you're like, no, that's not it. And then when you find it, you're like, oh, all right, write that down. Like, do something with that.
This is the kind of diamond in the rough.
This is the diamond. I found it. And then so what's left, like this finished song or the piece of work, whatever, that's a record of the exploration. Like it's like a logbook of what happened to get, and then that's the result, which I find really interesting. And then, but just on the recording side of the album, I just want to get back to that.
Yeah.
Because the quality sound, like, did you have any issues with let's say this room, it's very spacious, like you can kind of hear the reverb or the echo in the room. What was your like actual recording space like?
So again, be very similar. I know the people watching this probably can't see, but like it'd be similar size to this room. So
like a mansion,
like swimming pool,
like
Rolls Royce.
The servants are over there,
and just getting fanned by like a load of beautiful women. Like
No,
I mean kind of like typical kind of like suburban North County Dublin house room, kind of like a back room, like.
But did you do anything to mitigate? So when you're recording,
I did do a bit of dampening stuff. So I should probably be more professional about that stuff than I am. So I did do a couple of stuff. So with the guitar, I used to like kind of I used to mic up the amp and stuff.
Yes.
So what I used to do, I used to play around with that a bit, because sometimes I'd pull the mic away, but get a bit of ambience around it, put it right up, and then I'd sometimes have two mics going. But I used to use dampening, like say blankets and stuff like that, because I don't have a vocal booth like in a studio, and that's always going to be the drawback of recording at home. But I did do some makeshift stuff, like I forget what they're called, the
pop filter.
Yes, pop filter. That's exactly what they're called. I was calling it a de-esser.
A
pop filter. I made one out of an old coat hanger and a sock. So I got an old wire coat hanger, wrapped it around, and then put just kind of made it into a real botched circle, and then put a sock over it. So it did actually help a bit with the pop sound. Now someone's probably gonna listen to it and be like, "What the hell's he talking about? That sounds awful." But
it's mainly to stop like the like this is good for blocking it. It's just the air. It's the air.
And this goes back to what we were talking about at the start of the podcast with our pronunciations.
Yes,
like
certain words are
we do real harsh pronunciations. I feel like you were like tis ta, you know, like.
And I found as well something that I'm learning because I'm listening to myself over and over again is that it's like you want to kind of some words like the heavier words or the heavier sounds you kind of want to glide into them.
Yeah.
When you're recording yourself, like if you come out like but if you go like let it build,
like curve into it.
Yeah.
I've actually been more conscious of that than you believe, particularly in this album. I was even looking up techniques online to try and
like my technique or whatever.
Yeah, and apparently one now I didn't try this because I don't think it would have worked, but apparently having a bit of chewing gum on the top of your palate really helps with harsh t and ts noises. Like I didn't
just stops you from doing it.
Yeah, apparently, it kind of softens the roof of your mouth, so you're less likely to noises.
Fuck.
I didn't actually try it in the end.
Look, there's sometimes
that
you just gotta get the best of what you can do.
Yeah, and it was just more like you said. I just was more conscious of it. I was like, okay, when I'm doing these vocal lines, I'll be a bit more ease into them and just softer. So, that's
a whole process.
That is
just
a process.
Learning over time, and that's what I'm finding. So I record. I'm gonna be re-recording some of the songs I recorded initially because I've learned so much. It feels because I've done so many in such a short space. About even on the editing the vocals, like automating the volume and kind of just better cleanup and better at the timing of it. And I was actually I've set up in my room. Actually, it's a pretty good space, like just like acoustic blankets.
I saw on your social media you had you made your own vocal, and you had do you have a projector in there as well?
No, I have. I bought some. I just bought because just buying some artwork for it in a way. So I got there's this. It's called, and actually I'm thinking about calling my album "The Creation of Basil," right? Because there's this picture. It's on the Sistine Chapel.
I know the one. Yeah,
it's the creation of Adam. It's called.
Yeah, with the finger.
And there's so much encapsulated into that image, and the more I look at it, because it's just in my room, the more I kind of see. And then I have I've like Van Gogh's like Starry Night on my other wall. So it's just you can make like making the beautiful garden, like making it nice.
You've made a Sistine Chapel.
Yeah, exactly. And it was only 50 quid.
That's mad.
50 quid for this beautiful tapestry. And the Van Gogh thing was like 7 quid on some other shitty little website.
That's
mad.
mad.
And now I have like a piece of artwork that people will pay hundreds to go and see and then to look up from the sky. I'm just sitting in my fucking room now.
And you get that inspiration.
Yeah, and I feel like it's actually creating, like, it kind of created, I was talking about there, like, that, trying to, like, I came up with this new song idea, right? And because I kind of felt that I had a religious experience in a way about reality and committing myself to that highest ideal. And it's like the Holy Man. The Holy Man, like, is a song. I gotta have a song called The Holy Man now, right?
Forward to this.
Because I've realized, like, so let's say it's an interesting idea, right? So you listen to footballers or people that have won things. They'll always go, "I always knew God was going to give it to me," right? Like fighters, especially, right?
Yeah.
They fight.
One eye hanging
They
out.
if they don't, like, the ones that have that belief that, like, someone's looking after me, like, you probably need that.
You do, yeah.
In the fight. But what is it like to internalize, like, not that, but like, what is that God that they are believing in? What is that essence? What is the essence? What's at the core of that? And it's like you need to take life. It's about taking life serious, like, with a reverence, like a holy man, a holy man who goes up to the mountains and, like, he's real strict about his life because, like, he knows how precious life is. So that's in my idea that I'm becoming more holy. Yeah, but, like, as in,
not necessarily like organized religion as such,
no,
but it's that spiritual entity, that there's something
I want to take this experience as serious as I should be.
Yeah,
in a way, that's what the Holy Man is.
I think there is something in us that, like, there's a reason why every single culture and society from the start of, like, Homo sapien, whatever, has always had some religious entity to it.
Yes,
I always feel it's like a byproduct of our kind of awareness of mortality and our awareness of kind of our existence.
Yes.
We need something there to kind
like, it's all right. Like.
yeah, we need something there to kind of fill that void or something, you know.
Yes.
And a lot of times that's why religion has such a big place in nearly all of humanity. Even
selling
now,
the best stuff.
like even if you look at now, like we've the most technological and scientific advancements ever made in humanity. Like say, like you know, in America, for instance, United States, they have NASA and all these, like, you know, Silicon Valley and all, and yet they've got some of the most devout religious people in the world.
Yes.
It's like there's always that void to be filled, and like some people choose to use it with like religion, where like, okay, these are the scriptures I'm going to follow, but like I think I get what you're saying. You need that kind of that
reverence for life, because see, the thing is, like Nietzsche talked about the death of God or whatever. Like when you take God out, right, the fact that we all used to believe in sort of this higher power or this higher level reality that was like that, this is kind of subordinate to, like, this reality sits within that. And so there's like it gives a meaning to it without having to decide your own meaning in a way.
Yeah.
And that when you take that meaning out, people are like, I went through a massive period of nihilism, especially when I first started learning about like science and rationale, and because I was just, and then like my dad died during that period. I was like, oh
sorry,
shit, it was like I just became real nihilistic, because I was like, what is the point? Like you were saying, the insignificance of our own lives in a way. And I've kind of come back and found I'm on more of a spiritual path, let's say now. And like, I don't know to be honest, I don't know what reality is in a way. It feels like something absolutely, the more I look and the more I feel, it's like just a beautiful experience that's just so incomprehensibly complicated and amazing. And that's where the reverence is going to come from. That's where it's like, that's where the holy man is going to step in and say, this is such a fucking amazing experience in a way that it creates its own reverence, and it is its own God in a weird way. And I think that gives you a fundamental you need I think you need something. I think you need something in your life to shoot for.
You do. And I find, I like, similar to yourself, I really struggled with the kind of, like, you know, the void, like that nihilism where like I'm kind of like kind of almost pessimistic about things at times. And like, especially because I feel like once you lose that kind of like, I use the term crutch as well, but like of kind of like, you know, okay, there's something beyond all this. That's why, like, I think everything you're saying, I didn't expect to get this deep, by the way. This is
no.
This is.
I've got, because I didn't think I was going to go this deep.
Yeah, I feel like I'm on therapy or something. It's like, am I real? Is this a simulation? I don't know.
Oh man, I'm going to have a breakdown listening.
Yeah, I'll be on the way home in the car now, just a tear running down my cheek. It's like, am I real? Am I a non-playable character?
Shut up, man.
I don't know. Am I like a non-playable character in your game? I don't know.
Stop.
But I think you do need to get something to fill that void. When you do kind of go down that road where you're kind of starting to lose grip of kind of why you're here and what you're doing, you do need to have something like that to aim for. And I think that's super important for people. And you sometimes see the people that sort of have that real devout, like, you know, faith and stuff, they nearly are happy in their existence. I feel the more kind of aware you become of, like, you know, the world and science, so it nearly makes you more unaware of things. You're like, oh my god.
If you just break things down to ones, zeros, mechanical beings that are just literally, you know, Alan Watts had this great line. It's like teeth with like a tube on the end of it, basically. You know what I mean? Like, so it's just like, we're just these tubes in a way. Like, we're not. So that's just it's just a terrible way to look at life,
it really
in
is.
a way. And it's like, if you go down, if you look at just pure rationale and just chemistry and all that, you just think. But then you have to look at your first person experience of the reality in a way, like beauty and stuff. Forget about like what's actually like behind the robotics, the mechanics of it, but what are you feeling? What are you experiencing? And I don't think, especially like some experience with psychedelics, like they've kind of shown me that like you need to take your first person experience into account and not just rely on you know, what's provable, what's external.
The logical side of life.
Yeah,
it can get very sterile.
Yes.
When you start thinking of it that way.
That's exactly. But there's the danger is that like I'm not trying to I'm not starting a new religion, right? And I'm not saying that we need to teach my religion in schools, or I'm not saying that we need to enact
basilbreen.com
policy, slash Jesus. That's why I'm growing the hair. No,
Yeah.
but I'm not trying to. The problem is that I'm not trying to force people to believe a certain thing,
Yeah.
or I don't want people to believe a certain thing. I want to find my own sort of belief system in a way, and I think when it comes to like grander policy and stuff, then it's like it basically comes down to how do we produce like the least amount of suffering for people and produce the most amount of non-suffering. I think that's all we need to kind of aim for. I'm not like, oh, you need to. So I think that's the problem with sort of organized religion in a way, is that I think they're mostly probably good. It's just that sometimes they just get twisted in a way, like the Inquisition and like stuff like
people use them as tools, and that was always my kind of gripe with it. Like if someone, say, like probably like the vast majority of people's grannies in this country, they just peaceful, they like the comfort of it all, and they don't kind of get involved with other people. But I think it's when people start to use it as a tool to tell other people how to live, I think that's when it becomes a problem. And not just religion, I think anything. Once people start using something to tell people how to live their lives.
Yes, an ideology,
any ideology, and it becomes dangerous then, because then you find the most evil people
100%
are the ones that really abuse it, and like they hide behind that veil of morality, like I'm doing this for your good. It's like, but you're
I
not
know what's best for you, and it's kind of it's real sinister, but it's real interesting, because if I believed in hell, let's say, if I really believed in hell, that if you don't believe in God, you're going to go to hell, I'd be slapping you. I'd be like, no, you can't do any of this, because you're gonna die.
You're gonna die. I'm doing this for your good.
Yeah, no, I am doing this for your own good. You know, I get sick. But if you really believe, so I don't think people, like, let's say, I don't think they really believe, because if they really believe, well, some people do actually, probably.
Yeah, and maybe the Bible Belt,
like,
or something.
or like the like ISIS and stuff, like like, let's say I was reading this article or listening to anyway, this bit of information found me right about this mother of someone who had committed like a suicide bombing and died, and she was so grateful that he had done this. Yeah,
because he was going to
he's gone, and he'd done Allah's like bidding. So she was like, thank you, which is so crazy. Like so ideas like that, like they have power to kind of sort of take hold in our minds. And it's like, then what is bad? Like, is it? It's morality. It's such a squirrely one.
It is. It's a difficult one to put in black and white. Like,
yes,
because you even see it in our country. Like, not so long ago, like mothers are putting their own daughters into laundries and stuff. Like, and these were probably good people. They were just so caught up in that ideology, and they just the ideology and the social pressure. Pressure. That's a huge one.
Yes,
like that's a huge one. Like I hear stories from my own parents. Like they both come from like rural parts of Ireland, and like I kind of, it's easy to reflect now going, well, how did this happen? And how did people, like, surely they should have been like, no, I'm not doing that. It's like, but you don't understand, like, when your family's getting named and shamed, like, in front of the whole community, like, it's
you're
very
ostracized.
Yeah, and that's again goes back to probably survival instincts.
It is.
You don't want to be outed from the
group, because you're gonna, like, you're gonna probably die more likely.
Yeah, we have shared interests in this group, like we're a tribe, we need to work together for resources and stuff. So there's probably, like, you see it in the animal kingdom all the time, particularly with primates stuff. If, like, there's a hierarchy, and if one of them does get, like, ostracized like that, like, they will practically nearly kill them to get them out of the group. And there is that, I think that really plays into it. But then some very intelligent people can play on that still in humanity.
100%.
And it's a scary thought. And it happens in all forms of ideology. It's not just religion. You see it in business and stuff as well.
But we don't want to get ostracized, or we don't want to be separate from the whole, in a way like certain laws keep us from doing really terrible things. Like, no one wants to be branded a rapist or a paedophile. Yeah. Like obviously now, like, not that I say the majority, you know what I mean? Obviously people are like, do commit these crimes. Yeah. But like that to me would be one of the worst things that could ever happen. Yeah. That label would ruin your whole life.
You can't even move into areas or anything. Like, your whole job or everything. Like,
you've no credibility as anything, right? So that's like such a scary thought. But then it happens at other levels. So imagine like everyone's doing a certain thing or whatever, and then you're just gonna comply because it's like there's different degradations or different levels of sort of compliance. Even the Nazis, in a way, just complying to like if they're just taking the Jews away, at least they're not taking me away. So
Yeah,
fuck it.
and I have to look out for my own. I'm not going to say
Exactly.
I'm not going to rock the boat.
And you have to look. Yeah, you're just thinking of your poor children there. And if you rock the boat, they're literally just going to kill you.
Yeah,
or whatever.
you'll be gone with them. Like, you know.
So we don't. Yeah, there's all these.
Again, like that's that thing with morality. It's very hard to just pinpoint. Like, you know, it's easy when we look back at these things in reflection. Like, how did people in ancient Rome throw people into lion pits?
Yes.
How did, you know,
it's barbaric.
but it's like if you're in the moment, like, you have to kind of.
You'll just do
as the Romans do, essentially. You know, I didn't even plan that one.
But you're.
That's probably the first time I ever used that phrase logically.
I know, it's the first time I've ever heard it being used right. But same with even like any situations that we find ourselves in, anything that becomes normal.
Yeah.
So even now, right, this is the crazy bit, because we think that we're rational beings, right? Let's say that we our ideas, hopefully, we believe in them and they have some sort of bedrock, maybe. But there's people that would disagree with us on loads of stuff as well.
Yeah, of course.
In a way, and it's crazy that like we all live in the same world, and it's like really kind of it's strange, because then you have to kind of look at yourself and you have to be aware of your own biases.
Yeah,
like, I have like, let's say if I'm Googling, right, I'm like I want to eat I remember I was doing like the ketogenic diet, right,
Yeah.
for a while, and I was like, oh, when I was getting hungry, I was like, I'd be like, is KFC like keto friendly, right? Like, so in my searches, I wasn't Googling like, will it break keto, or like my searches were kind of geared towards like, I wanted to find something.
Getting the answer you wanted.
I wanted to get the answer
Yeah.
I wanted. And we're like, there's this idea, I was listening to it, it's like, so are we rational beings? So like, are we always going to act rationally, or are we just rationalizing beings? So we just rationalize after the fact. It's like, oh, why do you like this? It's like, because I just think I love these cups and everything or whatever. Like, that's why I like coffee, because I just like holding these kind of patterns. It's nothing to do with the coffee. It's just to do with the pattern. Really, I'm just addicted to coffee.
Yeah, you're rationalizing why you're doing it.
Yeah,
Like,
but we do that all the time.
100%.
Like,
yeah.
if I ask you to name like a famous movie star, right? Some random thing will pop into your head, and I'll ask you, why did you pick? So pick a movie star?
Daniel Day-Lewis.
Oh, I love
He's
There Will Be Blood.
Oh, fantastic.
My favorite film
Fantastic
of all
movie.
time.
Brilliant.
But all right,
The milkshake scene, I love that.
So why did you pick him?
I actually don't know. It could be your hair, maybe. You know, because
You don't know why. That's why, right? That's what I'm getting at.
He would be one of my favorite actors, but
He would be, yeah. But see, and then you say all this stuff, but really,
now I'm rationalizing as to why.
now
I
you
picked him.
rationalize it after the fact, which is what we actually really do a lot. You know what I mean?
Especially when you get called out and you're kind of really like, oh, now I have to justify, rather than saying I picked it because I did. Like,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
It's like I have to now rationalize why I picked this.
But you
and
don't
I have-
even know why you picked it in a way.
No,
And who
I don't.
cares?
Who cares? It's just it's in the storage bank in there
Yeah,
somewhere. You know.
it just came into my
Yeah.
head in a way, which is interesting, and it could be like it. What I'm trying to say is, right, that the real reasons might be unbeknownst to you, but there's something, it aligns already with your predefined beliefs and psychology sometimes, and you want to kind of just like, if I hear, sometimes it's hard for me to listen to. I try to listen to every side of the argument. Like, so let's say on the COVID side, I'll be like, all right, what's the negatives? What's the positives in a way? And like, there's like, when I take let's say I take a strong stance. Let's say, for example, I believe vaccines on the whole were a positive, right? So that's something that I've kind of been like, that has to be true. It has to be like, because it just like anyway. But then I'll hear conflicting information. I'll be like, like some things they're saying are potentially true, but overall it's like, so when I hear that conflicting information, it's hard like to not get energetic about it and like try and sort of
like counter
it in a way. It's hard to let stuff in if I've already
is.
kind of built a belief around it, but we have to try and just be like, all right, let's just see it from their point of view.
Yeah.
And like, if I'm wrong, right? Sometimes we're just wrong.
And like sometimes, like I usually bank on the side of logic, like, you know, and probably a bit of a sheep in that. Like, say, okay, so I was on the positive side of vaccines.
Yes.
So it's like, okay, well, like if you look at smallpox and polio and these stuff, but then there's also times in history where the masses went with something.
Yes.
Like some of the examples we mentioned a couple of minutes ago, where it was actually like, oh, maybe this wasn't the right move, and like
Formaldehyde, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, and geez, yeah, there's so many examples of that throughout history, like, you know, with new medicine and stuff like that. Like, what was it, radon toothpaste and stuff? People were literally rubbing like radioactive, and it's like great for your skin and all. It's like you were literally putting like radioactive isotopes on your skin, like, and sometimes it is good to question things because people didn't question, even like diesel, for instance, like the particulates so bad for you, but like up until probably the 80s, no one was questioning. Like, you know, it was like, this is brilliant, but we
have to be allowed to question, I think, and like you have to allow for questions and don't just like, let's say, take a real ridiculous example, right? Flat Earth, right? Now, when I first heard that, I was like, there's no way there could be flat. Like, that would be such a crazy thing to to not be public knowledge, right?
Surely we'd know that by now. Like,
well, I had to look into it. I had to start going, okay, what are the arguments? Like, I have to understand their arguments and see what they're saying, because obviously they're so animated, they're so energetic. Like,
there must be something.
There's something that they think anyway. So I've actually listened to loads of debates on it and everything, just because I've been like, well, what is because I want to understand the psychology of it. Like, how can we be so fucked in that, even when it's like there's this really good documentary on Netflix about it called Beyond the Curve, right? In the documentary, they have run it's a $20,000 experiment, right? And it basically isn't giving them what they want.
It backfires.
They kind of just they're just going like, we're going to prove it with this elaborate laser thing, and it's not really working for them. So they're just like, oh fuck, what are we going to do? They kind of just say, oh no, we need to
calibrate it.
Yeah, but it's not calibrated. Yeah. It's not calibrated.
Calibrate the laser.
That's the thing.
Oh, it's set on rounder.
They're so screwed, and like that psychology of becoming so blind to your beliefs is scary, because I think that's a big problem with the world. Like, let's say some people on it, I know I'm going off one here, but Conor McGregor, right?
Yeah.
People, let's say when I started, I loved Conor when he started.
I saw it.
Right?
I think the whole country was really in his corner.
I still probably think it's hard for me now, because after I seen him punching that man and stuff,
the old man,
just hearing and seeing how he reacted in his last fight. I'm not a big UFC guy, but the things he was saying to his opponent about his wife and all, I just thought, that's not like my ideal version of how someone should carry themselves in the world, right? So,
and it's not our thing. I think as Irish people, we were always kind of humble about that. So if you look at like Katie Taylor and stuff, and then he got a bit kind of like, you know, cheeky chap at the start.
Cheeky chat.
Like, he's got a bit of banter, but then when it turns,
was the disrespect, like to men like Khabib, who are all about honor and integrity and respect. It just kind of but there's some people that won't. So there's some people. I know people that won't say even a good thing about him.
Yeah.
And there's some people that will never say a bad thing.
Yeah.
Even if he points, like, what do you think about that? They'll rationalize it.
Yeah.
They can't admit it.
A good example of it right now at the moment is Dana White. Have you seen this?
No.
So Dana White is the guy that runs UFC.
Yeah.
He's kind of known as being a bit of a hothead and stuff. But over New Year's, there was footage that came out of him basically like pimp slapping the shit out of his wife. Now, it's pretty. Check it out. It's pretty like, oh my god. So basically, what happened is, they were in a nightclub. Someone was filming them from like down on the floor, and his wife actually slapped him first.
Oh,
like quite hard. Like she came right at him, but then he, without fail, instantly just like about 3 or 4 big open-handed slaps. Doesn't look good.
Oh shit.
I mean, I'm very much on the side. Okay, she also hit him.
Yes.
So like, I think in a healthy relationship, you shouldn't be raising your hand to each other. Like that's just not cool. But he definitely, like, this dude, like, he's a big like steroid head and stuff. It's like, he shouldn't have done it. But when you go into the comment section, there are so many people defending him. Like,
I know.
Kind of like, well, you should never raise your hand to a man and all this stuff. It's like, okay, I kind of get that logic too, but it's like, the dude probably weighs 3 times as much. Fair enough, she shouldn't have hit him.
Both things can be wrong. No one has, like, both can be wrong.
Yeah, there's no right, like, the both of them are in the wrong here, but we can't just pick him aside and say, no, he deserved to hit her back. It's like, no, like, I mean, they're both in the wrong here.
That's the thing. It's like, it's saying, why can't we just say, yes, she was wrong to hit him, he was wrong as well.
They're both
actually wrong, right? And you could say he needed to kind of contain himself a bit more, because there was more, forget about men and women, it's just like there was more chance for him to do
harm to
her. And there's something about, because we're like men and women, like the only real difference is like physicality.
Yeah, like we have more testosterone. And
more
stuff
testosterone, right? So they're like, we're just stronger, so there's more chance of us. And it's just you should never kind of. But she shouldn't do it. He shouldn't do it.
No, that's
okay. That's it.
That's it. Case closed.
Yeah, we don't have to be like, oh well, she deserved it because
there's a lot of that kind of. Like,
you could say, okay, this is the new one. It's like, okay, I can understand. Like his reaction, he didn't just hit her randomly without thinking.
Yeah.
But it's not. It doesn't make it still right. I can sympathize with him a little bit more, but like
it's like
I don't like anybody hitting anybody.
No, it's like I think the two of them are like married and stuff. It's like it's just a case of domestic violence on both sides. It's like unfortunately something went wrong. Now I think the defense from, like, to be fair to his wife, she actually came out and said no, like we were both really really drunk, so like she's not kind of going down the road of like trying to you know. But at the same time, there's kind of a real bro culture around him and that you like the kind of UFC. Like they're the same.
That's the thing.
It's the same guys that are probably defending Conor McGregor after he like punches an old dude. It's like yeah, but you know your man done this and done that. It's like I know, but it's like, can we just call a spade a spade?
I bet. So this is the other side of it, right? Imagine there was just video footage of him just without her doing anything. He just hit her. I bet you'd have people saying, I bet you she did something.
Yeah, it's like, where's the wrestling footage?
Yeah, where's the
What did she say
What
to
did
him?
she say? They just can't admit it.
Yeah,
it's like just admit that someone did something fucking wrong.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Let him fucking take the fucking blame for, like,
once we've already committed, if I commit like to JJ's a great person, like, right, he's a fucking brilliant guy, right? I had him on the podcast and then it turns out that like you go off and you just start getting hookers and you're cheating your girlfriend and
I'm
all
slapping the
this
shit out of my hookers
and
in a
you're doing
nightclub.
all this terrible stuff. I have to be like, all right,
You're
like,
allowed
I thought he was
to
good.
then reverse your opinion. You know, and
that's the problem.
People just really pick sides and like on everything, and it's even like, say, football, for instance.
Football's the biggest.
It's a huge one. So like I casually watch football. I support Liverpool. Like, you know, but
I love the story. But anyway,
yeah, it's a real you know, like I'm not born in the city. I'm not like a Merseyside. I'm not like, you know, like you know,
never walk along.
Yeah, you know, like they're like going down the street, like going down scaries, like screaming it in all women's faces. But then I sometimes see on like, say, social media and stuff where like some guy who was probably born in the Rotunda Hospital, like grew up in like Dublin or something, and he's there like, you know, like mag scum or something like this, and I'm like, that's a very hateful term to a group of people that you have no affiliation with. Really, like you just picked the team when you were probably about 7 or 8 and just kind of stuck to it.
Yeah,
and it's that whole bias thing. So like, I'm sticking to this and that's it. And then
I hate them
so much. Absolute. And then like they use these like real slurs and all. It's like Jesus Christ. It's like, do you even know this person?
Yeah,
like,
what, you've let this thing too far into your life in a way. You can't hate somebody for supporting a different team that you support. But that's the problem. It brings, like, football shows how sort of delusional we can be when we get ideology or sides.
Yeah,
and it's the same with like racism, like ethnicities, sexual orientation. It's all about, once we pick a side, and then our brains, if we're not. You need a real. The biggest thing is trying to be self-aware.
Yeah.
You need to be real self-aware, and even when you're self-aware, you're not self-aware enough, because you can never be real. You can never really. But you need that. That's the only thing that can save us.
Yeah,
is that.
What do they call it? Unconscious bias, I think, is a term they use, where you kind of like particularly protect like what era you're raised in and kind of what were the norms when you were growing up. It's very hard to unshackle them, but you hit the nail on the head. Just being aware of it, even like it's even to this day, like a lot has changed in our lifetime, you know. And I still sometimes I'm like, oh, this is a bit different. But then I have to kind of question. I was like, no, look, this, like, think of it from their point of view. It's like, and it is difficult. I can see how like older generations can struggle with the kind of change they're going because it's like, it's just so alien to them.
Exactly, yeah.
But it's about, like you said, being aware of it. At least if you know that, like, okay, I have to think about this from both sides.
It's hard, and it is hard for people. It's just, change is hard.
It is.
But just going back somehow to your album.
I feel like this is like such a.
I know, I'm loving this.
Yeah.
This is perfect for me.
Yeah,
but I do want to get back to it. So in this little space, you recorded vocals, you recorded guitars. And you what did you do everything yourself?
I've done everything myself, so I played bass, done all the keys, drum samples. I use a lot of drum samples. Now I did do a lot of percussion stuff as well.
Yeah.
There's actually one song in the 31 Day. It's actually that was one song I actually started recording when I lived in Australia. The song's actually about, I was traveling with two of my really good buddies, and like a lot of people that end up over there, we ended up working on a lot of building sites, doing like kind of, you know, in 35-degree heat, like doing real dirty labour work, because they'll get the Irish guys in to do the graft, because we'll go in and we'll just do it. We're just kind of like, but we'll still do it.
Let's do it, yeah.
And there'd be some days, like, to be particularly like there was some sites we were working on, particularly in Melbourne, where like we were getting treated like shit and getting low money for it. And I remember like it was actually my friend Baz. He was like another Baz.
Oh, no way.
And another
Is
Basil.
his name Basil?
It's Barry, but we call him
close
Basil.
enough.
We call him Basil.
Yeah.
I remember we were on our way to work one day. He's like, another dirty Monday, and I was like, I like that.
Dirty Monday.
And then we kind of. I came home and I started playing this riff, and he gave the title, and I think he threw a line or two in as well. So I do give him credit for the song as well.
You got some credits.
But I like the idea so much that
I
started kind of recording the song in a little apartment we were living in Melbourne. But the drums in it, I just wanted to get a percussion down. So I just got a phone I had and I recorded me hitting the kitchen sink.
No way! Because I was listening to the drums, right? And I was like, they're not real drum. Like, they're not. They sound like the real kind of in a way. And that's so cool.
So it was a kitchen sink. And then I came back to Dublin like a year or two later, whatever it was, and that's when I started recording my album. And I was like, I really like that kind of idea, that premise. I was like, I'm going to try record this song properly. So then I used the kitchen sink as because that was the beat and all. I was like, okay, so this was the kind of tempo of the song and this was the feel of it. So I put that in as my kind of, guide track. Then I started doing the bass and the guitar and all, and then I was like, okay, time to replace the drums. I was like, I kind of like that sound. It kind of almost has sort of like a bongo percussion sound. So I don't know how to explain it. And
but it feels right to you.
Yeah, I just left it in, and I was like, okay, I guess the drums in this song are going to be kitchen sink. I added in some kind of percussions over it just to kind of.
That's the cool thing. It's like that's the story element that like. I think with creators, whatever, it's like we like that, like a bit of meaning, like Dirty Monday, a story. It's like we like the artifact that's produced. Let's say that drumming and the name. We like that because it came from somewhere. Yeah, and there's something behind it. It wasn't just like, I
better throw out this just generic song about something.
Yeah, we love that. We love a story.
You need to have that,
And just on. So for you then, what are the like? Let's say if you wanted, right, you were locked in a room and you had to create a song, right? What steps would you take in order to make a song from an idea to like a finished thing?
Jeez, that's
like what are the like? So I know there's probably different ways to skin a cat, right?
But
like I'm trying to understand is like because I'm learning the piano now for this reason. I want to start. The next step for me is to actually start creating music, and like so, for me, it's like okay, like now you can correct me if I'm wrong and stuff like this. Sorry. So if I have like a let's say a chord progression, right? Yeah. And then I'm basing like let's say the bass part, as long as I'm kind of harmonizing. Let's say it's a triad or whatever. Like, I can, maybe I'm like playing the seventh, or maybe I can experiment with different sort of tensions on that like major chord. Let's say, or chords that harmonize well with it in a way, right? Because if I kind of stick to that, then I can't really, something that doesn't like that is like too kind of obstructive on the notes that are being played on the other parts. So in a good way, right? I mean, in my head, I'm thinking, okay, the chords will give like the harmony, the structure in a way, and the melody. Anyway, so as long as everything being played, you could kind of play a sort of a cool chord with if you could single out every single note that's being played now, then it's like, all right, if they were all kind of like theoretically in harmony with each other, then that would be pleasing. So then the chords kind of they are like a foundational element in a way. Like they give a kind of a scaffold, let's just say, right? And then so that's one thing aspect of it. So I'm trying to this is all theoretical, right? And I've messed around a bit, and then obviously so building the instrumental parts in and around that, but obviously then going with your intuition. But then there's drums, which you've obviously you're just tapping on a fucking sink.
In that scenario,
so it's real interesting that. So that's like another foundation. And then there's all these elements. But so I suppose with all that being said, like what for you are the kind of foundational elements, or do you even think about it in that way? Or
I do sometimes. And again, I'm going to give the very the politician answer here and say that like it's whatever works for you. Yes. Now I don't have one set way. I really don't, like, because sometimes I do that where I might have a chord progression. I'll just maybe like say some songs. So you mentioned when you were talking about my album earlier, the first song is an instrumental. Yes. So I actually had that. I think it was Dad got. I had it in a random tuning one day, and I was just playing around with new strings I put on the guitar, and I was just practicing, and that song just came together within minutes. I was like, this is beautiful. And I had that whole song finished in about 15 minutes.
Oh god.
Start to finish. I put some overlayers in, I put a bit of bass in.
It just
and
worked.
it just worked instantly. Then there's another song in it, You've Got to Live. It's actually the closing track. And I'd actually originally started that song with a previous band I was in about probably 5 years previous, and I could just never get it sounding the way I wanted to. I kind of brought the idea, but I hadn't got the idea finished, and I was working on this idea for years, and that took so long. I started off with a guitar idea I had, but then the drums took me ages to get down. I kind of done a lot of kind of MIDI samples and stuff and used drums in it, so that took much longer to get down. Sometimes it comes together. Maybe I'll have a chord. Then sometimes, like you said with piano, like I've like kind of a MIDI keyboard. I'll sit down and just start playing around, and then I'll build a song around that. Then
Yes.
like there'll be kind of a feel, and I'll just build it. Or else maybe I might. This is just a kind of a real fluffy answer, but there's a couple of different ways I can do it. Sometimes I really structure out a song. I'll write out the structure to it, and I'll plan out like, an intro, verse 1, chorus, verse 2, a bridge, and I'll really scientifically plan it out. Other times it just comes organic.
Just flows.
And I wish I could give you a better answer.
No, that is the answer in a way. And I'm not saying like, because songs that come to me through just on the guitar, I'll start strumming, and then a melody will come out. Sometimes a melody will I'll force a melody to come out just by trying to think of a melody. Just be like, and then sometimes I'm in my car and I'll be like, I'm on the road, like I'll just make a fucking stupid little like song. I'm like, oh wait, that's a good melody.
I do that all the time. And what is really cool now, WhatsApp lets you WhatsApp yourself now.
Yeah. Oh.
So you couldn't do that before. So what I've started doing now is if I'm driving my car, and then I'll be coming up with like a little air or harmony or something in my head. I'm doing this hands-free, people, while I'm driving.
Yeah.
I'll just open up WhatsApp and I'll just hit the voice note and I'll just send it to myself, and I'll be like, and I'll be like doing a riff out loud, and then maybe I'll like, you're probably like myself in this sense. I'll just be kind of like maybe singing random shit out loud. And then like a hook will happen. I'll be like, oh, I like this hook.
Yeah, what's going on?
And then I'll just boom, hit record and send it to myself, and then I'll go home, and I might even look at it for like 7 months, and I'll be like, oh yeah, what's this? And then
because I do that as well. I record, and now the WhatsApp thing is really interesting. I like that. Usually I just have a recorder app, or I use Evernote where I can. Now, if I'm on the road, like it will just be the app, because it's just like, but I have a little hands-free thing as well,
Yeah, exactly. Safety,
driving. Yeah. But it's just like I can, but it's weird, and this is there's so many fucking rabbit holes, but because and what is it? So when I'm driving, or if I'm doing something where my brain is not, it's not
distracted.
It doesn't have to be fully engaged, right? Let's say when you get autonomatize a good bit of driving, then your brain can kind of do other things, and then that's the space where things kind of come out, and
that's
it's like
the creative zone.
Yeah, it's so interesting.
You're not like, because if you try to focus on being creative, it really doesn't work.
Yes.
You kind of have to almost be distracted to a certain extent. Like,
a little bit. Because if you're too... And even when I'm recording vocals, I'm like, if I'm thinking about it too much...
Yeah, if you overthink it.
But then eventually, after a few takes, I stop thinking about it. Then I go, oh shit, how long have I been doing this? And then I go, that's where I want to be, though.
That is such a struggle, actually, because sometimes I record myself and I listen back to it, it's like, oh, is that what I sound like? I sound rotten. And then maybe I'll hear the same song I played live, like someone recorded it. I'm like, oh, that sounds way better. But it's because I'm not overthinking, because I find when I'm standing at a mic with like headphones on, I'm really like
every little fucking thing,
and then it just almost sounds robotic or something. And it's when you're actually playing it casually,
because you're like, that's not like, oh, I know it, I didn't mean for it to be like that. I want it to be less I wish I had a like, it's just like, you can only like, it's a what I'm trying to do now, right? It's like, okay, I can do it as good as I can, but it's like, if I keep changing the time or something, like how like it goes through a few filters, right? There's me now doing it. There'll be me like in a few days doing it. But like, how many times is it gonna go through that filter of me just going through it before it's just like, you know what? It has to be okay enough. It was okay for that other guy a few weeks ago or whatever. So it's come through filters. I'm not saying you should definitely, but and I think having, like you were saying, having spacing them out. Don't just do one sitting, and then do whatever the majority of stuff. But then do your best to do certain things, and then when you come back to it, you need to come back. I think like in my head, I'm like, all right, 3 times. If it's 3 my filters of like them extreme filters of like real nitty gritty, that should be enough.
Yeah, you don't, because you run the risk then of over producing it. you
Yes.
know, where like you'll and then eventually that entity that you originally had is kind of lost and buried under a load of like plugins and stuff like that. Like, it's trying to keep it true to itself, but then also making sure you're happy. Because we kind of, again, we touched on this a bit before the podcast, but like sometimes you can record something and then you listen back to it maybe like later on, you're like, oh crap, this is not what I wanted. But sometimes the opposite can happen where you can redo it loads of times and then you'll maybe accidentally listen to one of the earlier takes and be like, oh, I actually really like that one. And you're like, shit, now do I have to go back and do this?
But that's the thing, your opinion, like the problem is that your opinion, you change over time. So your opinion, and it's struggle with creative work, especially with music, because let's say if I listen to sometimes I listen to like when I first recorded my first song, right, by the way, which was like maybe like 2 years ago, like I just did the vocal, I got someone else to do it, but it was the first, like it was the realization of this dream that I had, right. And I drove around for like about 2 hours and it was just on repeat. And I was just singing with myself, right? And that was fucking brilliant, right? And now if I listen to it too closely, I'll be like, oh, I hear this, hear that. But sometimes, let's say if I want to enjoy, like especially with this whole album thing, just to convince myself that I've already recorded music that I thought was all right before. I'll play an old song and I'll just be like, remove all that, like, don't look at it too deeply. No. Just listen to it. And just be like, no, it's actually...
as a song.
Yeah, like, listen to it as a song, because not as a fucking...
You're coming in with all this background information about the song. Like, oh, that's a bit where, I kind of done a bit of a bum note there. And, like, you're dissecting it. Do you know what's a great example of this is... Kurt Cobain, I know, like, he's kind of a cliche almost now in popular culture. People kind of reference him, but he hated Nevermind, that album, or particularly He Smells Like Teen Spirit. He absolutely hated that song. Like, he didn't even want to listen to it. When it came on the radio, he used to turn it off and stuff. And like that song is now like embedded in like
the culture,
you know?
Yes.
And I think a lot of artists struggle with that.
Yeah.
They kind of dissect their own work, like
too much
that they actually remove themselves from the enjoyment of it. Like,
well, it's hard. It's hard to. You have to try and take the step back, and I think you can a while after. Like, you can read, like, if I listen to some of the songs now, I'd be like, if I get too into it, I'll be like, it's not that great, or hit them boom notes, or hitting that word, or the time, or whatever it is. But it's just like, if I just step back and like, if someone else is listening to it, I remember the other day, because I was recording in my room. Now I'm doing the recordings now in this place called Pirate Studios. Have you ever heard of that?
Pirate Studios, where's that?
Oh man,
I must.
It's right. It's like I think it's like, let's say it's 50 quid for 4 hours, right? But it's self-service recording studio.
That's
so
really good.
It's a good recording space, good studio monitors and everything, and good little audio booth. So you can, like, it's brilliant. Oh man, you need to check it out.
I need to check this out. This sounds like my kind of thing.
You could have fucking done with this, maybe. Just to record the vocals, because there's a little, when I sing real loud, now I don't know what it is, but there's like, now it could just be my ear, or it could just be I'm only hearing it, but there's like this like fucking little squeak like that. I don't know, and like I'm not maxing out the dBs on the mic. It's just something that's resonating. Or
that's exactly what it is, resonation. Because I know it was where I was recording my album. It's actually like a back room, I suppose. What would you call it? Probably would have been a dining room, traditionally or whatever. But there's a double door between the sitting room and into that. And I actually had to stop recording my guitar in there because, what did they call it? The resonation key or whatever of the door was D.
Oh,
so every time I hit a D chord,
it would fucking go off. Yes.
And it would hum. And like every item has a resonation key.
Yes.
So if you hit the particular key, that's like, that whole thing about the opera singer cracking the glass. Now, I think they've tried tests with that. I don't know if that actually happens or not. But
I think I've seen it happen.
Is it in Brainiac? Remember that show, Brainiac?
Yeah, yeah.
Or was it...
Mythbusters or something, maybe.
Mythbusters could have also done it. I think Top Gear might have actually done it as well.
I have a feeling that I've seen a video when
I'm pretty sure it's in one of those shows.
Yeah.
So that's probably what it was. You're probably hitting a key that one of the items, maybe even like something like maybe the skirt,
the radiators I found.
Because
I've covered. No man, I've covered. I'm telling you, I know it's something. Because I can hear it. But I brought my brother up, right, and I was like, all right, I tried to play it for him. I was like, can you hear that? And he's just like, I'm just like, no, like there's a little squeak, like just listen. But he was just like, it just sounds like your voice, you're like whatever. And then I was like, all right, I'm gonna scream real loudly, and you tell me if you can hear it. And it was just got nowhere because like he's not hearing it the way I'm hearing it.
No,
in a
because
way.
you're singing yourself. You can probably just hear it interfering with your
it's
own
not.
voice.
It's there's something extra
Yeah.
that's on it. And in fairness, even in the new place, I don't know if it's I don't know what it is, but like it could just be because I guess it's so loud.
Yeah.
And like
Very
there's
pressure on your
yeah,
brain.
there's something going off when I hit, especially in one song, but I just kind of have to let go and just be like, you know
Just
what,
do.
I'm gonna get the best. It'll be the best that I can get it, but you know, it's gonna. There might be little squeaks or little noise, but no one's. But when someone's listening to it, they're not. They're just gonna be like, just like it's like they're just getting a broader picture. But then it was interesting because I was listening to another album there or other music, and I was like, what if I listen to this the way I listen to myself? And I was listening to their and all there's and I'm like, that's not how I want to listen to it.
That can actually ruin music. I started doing that an awful lot actually a couple of years ago. Like with even like some bands like say Red Hot Chili Peppers, I love and then you start dissecting the music. Like some of their they're so basic.
Yeah.
It's just a drum and a bass and a guitar right down the middle.
Yeah.
And then you start really dissecting and you're like, oh, it's like, you know, because you start hearing the instruments by themselves. So, and then you kind of remove yourself from the song and then it's like, no, that's dangerous because if you got, I'd imagine being like a sound engineer, so it could potentially ruin music for you.
100%.
Because if you start dissecting, here's one for you, right? You'll never unhear this. So, you know, Jamming by Bob Marley?
Yes.
In the background, and I'm going to use your, there's a bottle. It's like, ba-doom, 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 ba-doom. It's like that, right?
Yeah.
And once you notice that, you can never unnotice that. And I'm sorry for doing this.
I'm not going to listen to it for ages now.
And once you notice that, it's just a bottle. It's like ding ding, and I think it's in the left ear because the remastered it's panned out, and you will never be able to enjoy that song again because it's just from start to finish.
It's just there.
It's there, and it's like, but we're jamming, ding ding ding, and you just hear it, and you can never unhear it, and it just has.
Because all I can hear is the guitar in my head.
And it's just so obvious once you notice it. Just try it out. It'll probably ruin it. They won't ruin it. Like I still love jamming. When I hear it now, I love the song.
Yeah.
But once I noticed it, and I remember I pointed out to one of my friends, and to this day, he's like, "You've actually ruined that song for me." Like, but it's just those little things. Once you notice something,
you can't get away from it.
No,
because it's like you're always looking for it in a way. Like your brain knows it's there. It's like when if you're trying to sleep, there's like something making noise, like a tap.
Yeah.
I notice if something's off beat and it's making a noise, it wrecks my head.
Once you focus in on it,
I'm waiting. I want it to if it was like this, I could be fine. But if it's like, and then I'm just like, no, it didn't.
At least stay on time.
Because my brain wants it to be on time, and that fucks me up. But look, it's a problem with it's just a problem with I think the creative process. So how do you feel about the album now that you've done it?
Yeah, I look back at some of it and I'm like, oh, I would. Do you know what? This actually goes back to a point that you actually mentioned earlier. I've started to evolve some of those songs now that I'm kind of. I've been playing a lot of acoustic gigs over the last year, so that's how we obviously met was playing acoustic. So you know your fellow acoustic player yourself, you know the vibes. But I've even noticed some of the songs from that I've started to play differently now, and I actually prefer the way I play it now. And I was kind of like,
oh no, everything's going on, don't worry.
Oh, I think there's a ghost.
A ghost, yeah.
He's probably like, shut
up. The ghost of the album trying to stop you from changing things.
It's like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I noticed that I've started to play some of the songs differently now. And like, I was like, but again, you can't go back and change something that's been, it's there and that's it. Like, but if I was to re-record some of them, I'd probably change them up a bit, you know?
Yeah.
But again, this kind of goes back to what we're saying about like it being a journey. You're never truly happy with stuff. Like,
you learn from performing. You do. You learn
really
from
do.
the interaction with the crowd. Like a comedian, in a way, when they tell jokes, they can tell what's landing or what's not.
Yeah.
I actually changed like just one song. The end went on for so long. Like I repeated the same fucking thing over and over. I was like, this isn't working in the live. It doesn't feel good to do this in a live situation. So I need to figure out a way to tighten this up. It doesn't need to be this long.
Yeah.
And so then I changed that, and then some certain things I have I've developed from playing them live. It's really interesting and you learn more about it as you do it, and then you learn your voice finds the more natural,
the more comfortable
places to go. But look, that is just part of it.
That's the way it goes, and it's actually a good example of this. I have a song called Lobster actually, which I play a lot, like, and it goes down really well live. But when I originally recorded that, because people always come up to me after gigs. It's probably the one song I usually get the most reaction from. And people are like, oh, is that on, you know, your Spotify or whatever? Now, I do have a version of it on my Spotify, but it's one I recorded in 2017. It's in a different key, and I use like kind of electronic drums and
it's
stuff
so
in it.
different to what
And
it
it's
is
like,
now.
this isn't the song you're hearing tonight.
Yeah.
Like, so I actually have started recording. It was actually, my girlfriend said to me, she's like, you need to re-record that song and release the version you've done
Yes.
now. And I think I do, because every now and again I'll listen
brilliant.
back to the old version. I'm like, oh,
So
that's...
you're in the process doing that?
I am. I actually have been recording it now. I might hit up that studio you mentioned, because I have it almost down, but I just haven't got the vocals the way I want them to sound. The way they sound live. I
The
can't
Power
capture
Studios is
them.
brilliant. Like,
Yeah, so I think I need that.
They have an audio interface. They have headphones. They have everything you need. Now, they don't have like closed back headphones. So if you do have like headphones that go like, you don't want that bleed. You know what I mean?
No, definitely not.
But it's such a good space, and you're on your. And if you can do all the, obviously you can do it on your own in a way. You don't need. It's real comforting.
Yeah.
Like, don't be checking the cameras, but like I just take off my shoes. The other time it was too hot. I just took off my top.
Take everything off.
I'm just like relaxed. I'm getting so relaxed.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I'm on my own, and I'm just fucking repeating the same shit all over. And I don't give a fuck. I'm not in the house. I'm not annoying anybody.
Yeah.
I'm just here. And it's real liberating in a way.
Yeah,
so
of
you should
course.
definitely check it
I
out.
100% will. I'll get the details off you after. But
Yeah.
for sure.
But Jesus, yeah, like we've covered a lot here. Like,
Yeah,
I didn't realize we are going to be covering so much ground.
No, and like really dissecting existence.
Yeah, but no, it's been brilliant. And just on, so do you have any kind of upcoming gigs, or like you have this Lobster song coming out? Hopefully,
Yeah,
this
I'm
year?
working on 2 or 3 songs at the minute. So
Yes.
I it could be another thing where it might evolve into maybe another album. But I think I might release a couple of singles this year, as
Yeah.
opposed to putting all my work into one piece, because I have
Get
a couple
more
of
out in a way.
yeah, you know, getting them out in kind of digestible chunks.
Yes.
Because I feel like I released a 10-song album, but I feel like it's hard to get everyone to listen to the whole thing. You know,
Oh,
people
yeah.
are going to listen to 1 or 2 tunes off it. So I think that's the road I'll go down. But I'm also getting a full band together this year.
Oh,
Yeah, so I have a gig coming up now on the 26th.
JJ and the J's.
It's actually JJ Treanor and the Numbers.
And the numbers!
Yeah.
Who are the numbers?
So I'm putting the guys together at the moment. So I have a drummer and a synth player lined up, and I have a bassist who's going to come in and play as
No
well.
way.
So we're going to play a gig.
Are
in-
these people you knew already?
So I've played with them in some capacity,
Yes.
and I kind of had it in my head. I wanted to play. Because the music that I have on my album, it's all been
Yeah.
recorded as a full band, you know. And don't get me wrong, I love playing them acoustically and
But
stuff.
it's
So
not giving it the full
no,
shilling.
I like, because I've always, like, you know, when I write music, it's always in the concept of like having a big band.
Yeah.
Because in my head, I'm like, look, probably saying yourself, I'm like picturing like, you know, orchestras behind
Yeah,
me and
yeah,
stuff.
like the
It's
way, yeah.
yeah. I was like, so like I have to materialize that in my mind, that like at someday I will have that behind me.
Yes.
So-
you hear stuff, but it's, you know, you're not doing it, but you're like,
Yeah.
I know there's going to be some kind of
Like,
trumpet.
if I could make 12 of myself to play all these
Yeah.
songs, I would, but I can't do that. So
But they don't want the lead role.
yeah, well, that's like, here, why can't I?
I'm singing,
Yeah.
right? You're doing this.
You don't want to play the bottle and jamming,
Yeah,
fuck you. So anyway, 26th of January this month, I will be playing in Fibbers.
No way.
So full band setup. So in the middle of putting that set together at the moment, getting these songs live. So hopefully that all goes well, and then I'll have more gigs coming up in the year as well. So
Brilliant,
with
yeah.
hopefully some new releases as well. So that's the plan.
yeah.
Trying to get 2023 off with a bang.
The band would be so. I look like I was talking to this guy because I've always had the idea of a band. It's like, because you can only do so much with the guitar.
Yeah.
Really, right? I don't want to even play guitar. I just want to be fucking singing
yeah.
and going mad on stage. That's like in my ideal scenario, because when you sing without a guitar, I feel like I sing better. I can
can
concentrate
focus more,
on
yeah.
the singing instead of getting in my head, oh, that strum, or all that bullshit kind of goes away.
Yeah.
Whereas I'd love to just outsource all that, do all the fun stuff, but I don't know what that's going to look like. But potential name is going to be Basil and the Razzle Dazzled.
That's a brilliant name.
Because it's, but I don't know who's going to be the Razzle Dazzled. We'll find out.
Razzle Dazzle, it'll all come together. It's a beautiful name.
But yeah, no, it's funny because I'm the opposite in terms of I've been releasing singles. And I feel like I've done the single thing now. Now
You wanna release
an album,
an actual-
Like, this is my thing. This is
Yeah.
my contribution in a way to music, and then it's like so it's just funny, like, but like once you do one thing, you're like you're gonna do
Yeah.
the opposite. Like, now I'm gonna release singles because I did the
Yeah,
album. Now I'm gonna release an album because I did the single.
That's the beauty of it, though. And it's this whole thing we mentioned about, like, kind of, you're never truly happy as an artist. You know,
No.
you'll release something and you'll be like, oh well, now I want to do it the other way around.
Yeah,
like,
and then you're gonna, but that pulls you forward.
It does.
But no, this all sounds brilliant. And,
the razzle dazzles.
Razzle dazzles, yeah.
I'm looking forward to seeing that.
I'm hoping to get, like, I've been just in this fucking box the last 2 months. Like, I've just been trying to get this done. I'm hoping to get more. I'm hoping to get just do more of the open mics, do more like any gigs I can get, and then I'm hoping sometime this year, obviously for the album release, trying to get do a release gig of some kind. Did you do a release gig?
I didn't, because I released it.
Oh yeah.
I picked the best time ever to release an album. I done it. Well, I released it as things were starting to ease up again, but it was very much restricted.
Yeah. But I've never done a gig with my name on a thing. That's the next big thing for me. Like that would be like the next stage of growth in a way. I definitely think there's enough goodwill to get people to the first one, but I don't know how to say if there's other ones, but we'll see.
Just throw yourself out. That's all you got to do.
Yeah, you have to just do it. You have to do it. You're not gonna you're not gonna do it if you don't do it. I know that sounds stupid.
No, but it is so true, and it's like all the opportunities you don't take are the one that you've guaranteed they're not going to work.
Yes,
because like if you try something, it'll either work or it won't. But if you don't try it, there's only one outcome there. It's not going to work. So 100%. The only way it's ever going to work is by trying it.
Yes.
And it's
we're going to try.
But the thing is, look, it'll definitely work. You've got the bumper stickers.
Yeah.
You know, if that doesn't sell, I don't know what will. You know?
Look, we'll see. But look, it's always kind of a work in progress. Everything that we do in a way.
It is.
And you'll
never truly be finished anything or complete anything. You know, it'll always be. It'll always be a work in progress. Even you will never know when you have something well oiled. It'll be just even then when you have that well oiled machine, you'll still probably be critiquing it and be like, no, I don't know about this. But I'm looking forward to seeing your. I see you're busking as well. You were busking over Christmas.
Yeah, I was. I had an idea to do like some Christmas book because I wanted to get content for my social medias as well.
Yeah.
But there's also a part of me that loves the silliness of Christmas songs.
Yeah,
and I love kind of. The only time of year we can sing them is Christmas in a way.
Yeah, they're like kind of like vetoed for the rest of the year.
Yeah, they're completely.
It's illegal.
It's actually illegal.
Like if I was at like a barbecue out someone's backyard in the summer and I put on Fairy Tale in New York, they'd probably be like, what?
I'd be disgusted. I won't want to hear it then.
Yeah, it's like
around Christmas, I love it. And everyone else is a little bit sillier. And that little spot in merch, I'm planning on doing more busking. Because busking's like, it's great because it's more practice like that you're in control of. Open mics, it's more, you have to wait for your little slot or whatever it is. But so I'm going to go back. When I release the music, I have a sign. I'm going to get like this cool printout for like my first single. I'm just going to experiment with like more different types of marketing in a way. Because I like busking, but I think I've taken on I've just been doing too many things where it's like, okay, I need to focus on the album first, focus on this. The podcast is something that I'm kind of can tip away at in a way.
Yeah.
So
you have all the kind of groundwork done for the podcast,
Yeah, exactly. It's here.
Plug and go.
It's so easy now. Yeah. It used to take me ages to get set up. Now I'm just like, I know what I have to do. I just have to fucking do all these little things, and then it's basically done. And even recording vocals now, it's like clockwork. And I'm just like, plug it in. And now I'm getting faster at editing. So it's like the more you do the thing. But I was just going to ask, did you make any resolutions this year?
Not officially, but my kind of unofficial resolution is to probably focus more on music.
Yes.
Kind of get a good full bang on and
back on team.
And it's going to sound real cliche, but be more confident in my own brand.
Yes.
Because I'm not necessarily, it's not that I'm not a confident person. I'm confident in an awful lot of things I do in life, but I find I always very, which doesn't probably work well being a musician, I always am very reluctant to promote myself. Like I'm always more like, say, if I was in bands, I'd be more promoting other people. And whereas this year, I want to kind of just promote myself more and be like, you know what? Like,
yes,
I'm I like what I do. I'm confident in what I've done. Even
you have to be your own fan.
I know, and I find it. Maybe it's just that kind of Irish. We're afraid. Yes, we're very scared to take compliments, and we're very humble is one word I'd use, but we're kind of more like afraid to.
We don't want to be seen as that guy.
Yeah, you don't want to be that guy that's kind of blowing his own trumpet.
With my, I know because with my particular brand of human, my. Even my guitar having the thing written on it, it's like some people would scoff their nose at because like I'm ruining the guitar and you're just fucking promoting yourself. People, what I'm just trying to show. There's a mentality that would like look at any self promotion, even though brilliant artists, right? No one, and my good man, Killer Crow, we talked about this. Like no one's gonna like find you, right? No one's gonna listen to your music. You need to, if you have music that you think is good for the world, you need to get out there. And if you like it, then why aren't you talking about it? Imagine you like the only person you love your music more than anyone loves it because you wrote it for you in a way, right?
Yeah.
So like the music we create, and this is the beautiful part. It's like we're creating music for ourselves that like we're definitely gonna like because we wouldn't have created it otherwise.
Yeah, of course.
And it's probably the most we're gonna like anything. So it's like, but that's okay. And like we like that's like we should be okay promoting that, and we should support people promoting that. And because it's a very I see brilliant musicians, and it's like they're afraid to just put themselves out there a bit, or they don't want to be seen as like trying to get a following or trying to build an audience because actually the real reason I think is because it's more than likely it's gonna like fail. Like this is the problem, right?
Fear of failure. Like
people think that there's only one. You're either Ed Sheeran or you're not, right? But there's no in between. But you need to, if you can make this financially viable, that's the most. That would be cool, right?
Yeah,
but you don't, and even if you put yourself out there. Like that was the fear. That's what I analyzed myself. It's like, oh, now that I'm actually saying I'm a musician and stuff, I used to be afraid to say that because then I'm like, oh, people think that I want to be fucking like the next big thing. But it's like, no, I just want. I'd love to be able to perform for people that were interested in my music and wanted to hear my music. That would be cool.
Yeah.
Like, and that'd be fucking brilliant. And if I can create that, it doesn't have to be fucking Wembley. And it doesn't mean that, like, that's what I had to shoot for. But if I can, at home, if I could imagine when you went outside, right? Your life was like a little Disney movie where the people liked you because they knew you from this and that. And like, what would that world look like if you could create moments locally and community locally and a name for yourself locally, then your little world would be fucking brilliant because you could have conversations with people about this and that and whatever else. And it's like, so it doesn't have to be, you don't need any more than sort of your everyday existence to improve from your musical endeavors in a way and to get your name out to just around you, because that's where it's going to actually benefit the most of your life. Because then you can be like, oh, I can do a gig down the pub and I can have a great laugh and we can all have a good time.
And I can enjoy what I'm doing and I don't have to feel guilty about it.
Exactly.
It's funny, like you mentioned the point there, and I actually don't tell people I'm a musician.
Interesting.
And I've been doing it for longer than I haven't been. You know? Well, in and around. I've been doing it probably about half my life now. Because I'm 32, okay?
Yeah. I'm 21.
I know I look 24.
Yeah, you look better than me.
I'm like grey everywhere.
It's that fucking healthy beard.
Oh man, that's the thing's going grey on me. That's why I'm trim now. But so like I started playing when I was like 15, 16. So I've been doing it for like half my life. But I still find like, say like when family members stuff ask me, like I'm nearly embarrassed to tell them, and I don't know why.
Yeah, it's so interesting.
And it's actually something like that's essentially what my New Year's resolution is, to stop being so ashamed of something that I think I'm decent at. It's something I've put my whole, like I love it.
Yeah,
like, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Don't be afraid just because some people, it's like the idea of society will, like even busking. I think people don't go busking because they think it's seen as begging or something like that.
I swear, like
when I talk to people about that, I'm like, I never looked at busking like that. I thought of it like, I'm doing practice.
Yeah, I'm practicing. Yeah. I'm sharing my music. Like you're walking about your day, here's some music for you. Like,
but some people wouldn't have are ashamed to busk because of that, which is crazy.
I would know people who would almost kind of like look at me funny because I've done a bit of busking myself over the years. But you would kind of get that, like you'd be telling maybe some family members like, oh, I'm doing a bit of busking. They're kind of like, geez, are you on hard times?
Yeah,
or
like you're
kind of. I'm just like, no, I'm not even doing it. Like, even if I made like 20 cents, I don't really care. I'm doing it for the enjoyment. And there's a sense, like busking is probably the purest form of performing because you don't have a mic unless you bring your own rig with your stuff. But like, most people, they don't have a mic. you don't have lights, you know, you don't have reverb in your vocal. There's none of that stuff, and you're also in public, so you're exposed to the elements of like some lad coming up and boxing inside the head or something. So like there's it's the purest form of performing because you don't have any safety blankets. It's you and just society, like, you know.
You and society,
and it's the most beautiful thing. Do you find, right? I used to do a lot of it, like kind of a couple of years ago, and I found Irish people don't tend to. I found all the money we ever made from busking, it was usually tourists that would give us money. And I found, like, I don't know. I think, you know, I suppose again, it's probably just people going about their daily work. They're probably just going to work, so it's probably just like, I'm not arsed with this or whatever. But
like it depends. It's hard to gauge. I what I find is it's usually it's hard to say. It depends on where you do it, and it depends on so many different factors.
Like the time of year as well.
Time of year, but sometimes parents and their children, they just love giving them, like, because the child gets to do something.
Yeah,
and it's like, hey, I want to, like, they're looking at, because children, like parents, like they even if they like someone, or adults, let's say, they're just like, they can just separate like that music away. But kids, they're so interested in everything. They're like, oh, what's this over here?
Yeah, why is this guy doing this? And the parents can see that,
and then the parents allow, because everyone's afraid to just give someone time, because it's a real intimate thing in a way. It's so many layers, but to actually stand there, look at someone in the street and listen to them, it's like sometimes you can be, even for me, you can be too shy to actually just stop and listen in a way, because you're like, oh, you don't want, it's too awkward or whatever. So you just keep walking. So, but with parents and children, allow us to be, to live through children, and allow
to drop our guard,
and to live through them, so they can see kids will come up with the money that they got after mom and dad, and then usually I'll just be like, oh, little girl, I'll just make shit up. Like, that's what I love about it. And then seeing them light up in a way. But it depends on a lot of things. But I think one thing I'm debating a bit is, like, should I do covers? Because most of the time I do is just all my own stuff in a way. And it's good, like, because if you get something, then it's like, oh, you get, like,
you're getting because recognition.
You get recognition for your own stuff. So they liked that's cool, right? But it's like, I wonder if I could pull people in more with covers in a way.
I mean, you probably would get people's attention with a cover, but like,
from a marketing point of view,
like, I mean, I suppose again, it's boils down to, it's like, what do you want to, like? Do you want to enjoy playing your own music to people? Like, I always, to this day, prefer. I would rather make no money and play my own stuff, because like I was in a cover band for a while. Like I enjoyed it. It was good, like great musician stuff, but I don't get the same satisfaction from playing covers as I do from playing my own stuff. Like, I'd nearly rather play, like, you know, like say busk and make less money, but like having strangers listen to my own music.
Yeah, it depends on what's the goal. It's like, okay, if it is just pure money, then it's like, oh yeah, you like, should learn covers.
Play like Billie Eilish, so play like what's popular at home. Play that, like, you know, like Ed Sheeran and stuff. There will be people who are like, oh, I know the song, oh, brilliant, but like, it depends what you want. You could always throw a sneaky cover in to grab people's attention.
It doesn't feel right to me. I know. As a, because you wouldn't ask Ed Sheeran to sing a cover.
Yeah, like
play, you know what I mean? Yeah, like, you won't play Wonderwall. It's like, no, I have my own songs.
Yeah,
like,
you know?
I'm just like, so there's a part of that. But I'm just thinking, just in terms of a general like, so what if I put on my marketing hat? What would be what are things I could do that I could experiment with? Because I used to do this Irish covers, but what if I learned, like, popular covers, but not ones that I hated, or not ones that I thought were cliche.
That's how I used to do it. Like, I used to busk with one of my good friends, and we'd always throw in a couple of our own in there. And funny enough, there was one song we had called The Way We Think. It used to be a song we played years ago, and that used to always get nearly the most tips. Because I think it was when we played it very confidently, because it was our song, you know, and we used to have harmonies and stuff in it. But if we were throwing covers in, we would throw covers in that we liked, and that was a bit different. I think you'll always get respect people if you take a kind of well-known song but play it a bit differently, like, you know, like, oh, that's very interesting. I would never have thought of that kind of.
No, I think, look, anyway, it was just it is
a thought process.
Just thinking, but
I mean, look, put it this way, I would say there's no harm in doing it, because you'll definitely grab people's attention playing a song they know. But it really boils down to what do you want to play.
But let's say if I'm promoting my single, I have a fucking thing there.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to pull people in to look at the thing. So it's like, But then it's like, when I imagine you think that that's gonna work, and then no one gives a fuck about your cover.
Like, this isn't your song.
Yeah. You're just a lie. Yeah, what are you doing?
What are you lying for?
Anyway,
no, I think a healthy mixture of both wouldn't go. Like for busking, you probably do need to throw a few covers in. It's just the kind of nature of the beast, I think. Especially if, like you said, from a marketing point of view, is it going to draw them in to your album? Then
that's the thing.
No harm
so
in that,
look, it's all these things because. This year, I'm like, all right, this is the most serious I'm going to take music this year in terms of trying to build something where, like, if I did want to do a gig, I'm not thinking, oh, will people show up? It's like, oh, people like definitely can do this. Like, that'd be, imagine how cool that would be.
Yeah.
If you pursue this for so many years, there's potential. I'm not saying that like it's 100% going to happen, but. Like you were saying, it's not going to happen if I just sit here on the sidelines or whatever. I love performing in front of people, and I love I was doing some Christmas parties, and even I was doing karaoke. I was just doing Christmas karaoke, and I was doing like fucking the White Stripes, like da 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 da, and I'm just like, come on, like fucking
man.
But that's me. That's what I like. That, and I can bring that joy to people if you just let me.
and let yourself.
Yes,
you know, because I think a lot of time we're our own biggest, like we create our own boundaries around a lot of this stuff. So like, you know, fucking
in my head, I'm probably the most like, I'm super positive, but my self-talk is also super positive. Like I'm like you just gotta keep in it, Basil. Like like I'm real good. I'm a real good supporter of myself.
Yeah,
in a way.
That's
like
very important.
I look at what I'm doing. I give myself like have a little rest there, you know, have a little bit of coffee, but get back to it. Like you gotta fucking do this while you're alive. So you have to have you need to be again self-aware and look at where you're limiting yourself with your beliefs that are just tapes playing in your head that have no real bearing in reality. You can start changing the fucking tapes in your head. Yeah. That's the most powerful thing. You can change the common thought patterns in your head if you just decide to, in a way.
Because a lot of it's just as simple as making a decision.
Yes.
And I know it's easier said than done. And there's actually a line, I'm going to plug one of my other lyrics
please.
as well.
That's why you're here.
Yeah. I've got to bring myself up.
Yeah.
There's a line.
JJ!
Yeah. JJ Treanor. Check out my album. No news today. Check it out.
Yeah.
Stream this shit out of that.
fucking shit out
of it.
it.
Otherwise I'm gonna shoot a puppy. No, I actually won't. Like, I won't actually do it.
He brought his own puppy.
Yeah, so where'd you get that?
I was like, man, that's what the puppy's for.
Yeah. It's like, it wasn't a gift. It's actually, it's a ransom.
Oh, Jesus.
But there's a line in one of the songs. It was actually that same song I referenced earlier. The only true boundaries in life are made by yourself. Now, obviously, there's physical boundaries stuff to our life, but I think,
I know what you mean by true. Like
a lot of the stuff that holds us back really is boundaries we made for ourselves.
Yes.
Based off social constructs. It's like, oh, I can't do this, or people will think I'm this, or, you know, like,
all this stuff.
Yeah.
And even stuff that we're not even aware of fully.
And then they're so deep rooted.
We're in these like prisons that we don't, invisible prisons.
Yeah, and you feel guilty almost. It's like, what am I guilty about? It's like, I'm doing something I love. And then there's that whole thing as well. I think we're particularly good. I think every nation does it to a certain extent, but Irish people are particularly good at begrudgery. I think, like,
oh yeah,
we love a bit of begrudgery. It's like, look at the state you're, man. Look at who you think he is.
Look at shit. Yeah,
you know, and we sometimes find ourselves getting wrapped up in it. Like, you just have to push through that.
Oh man, I'm running some Facebook ads on one of my on a video of me taking over the world. It's like a like campaign, so it's actually building likes for my Facebook thing. It's about 25 cents a like. But what I'm finding with the ads, it's like, okay, you can convert money into audience in a way, and but like some of the comments are like, oh great, I love this. Then some of them were like, this is the worst thing I've ever heard. Like, they're taking time out of the day to tell me, like, what was like, 3-chord shite with screaming, and I'm just like, but everyone, I'm just saying,
like, how did you know?
Yeah, how did you know?
That's what I was going for.
It's so funny, like, to have that, like, and I have all right, I'm gonna remember this, but I have to there's a video of me busking, right, and some lad coming up to me and basically telling me he's the worst thing he's done in 40 years. It's like on my Instagram. It was brilliant, right? I won't get too into it now. I'll explain after. But it's hilarious. But like and when you're busking, I've had some people walk by and they're just trying to hurt like me, just saying you should stop. Like some lad with a joint in his mouth, it's like he had so much pain.
He wanted to just project his
he was hurt. Yeah, and like you just can't. Yeah, no, you have to just be that's why you have to have fundamental belief in yourself. And
Of course
sometimes
you do.
what they're saying is right, and then you have to adapt, or there's some truth in it. Like, let's say in that instance, I was doing a lot more shy talk than singing at that moment, and it made me think I need to focus more on the music and not trying to be funny. So actually, I thought I learned a good bit from that interaction.
You could take bits from things, but then at the same time, you know, you have to stay true to
No,
yourself.
yeah, you have
too,
to stay
you know?
true to yourself. Like you have to look at it
Yeah.
and say, okay, is there something here, or am I afraid to look there?
Yeah.
And then if there is, then okay, cool. Actually, I got something. But if it's just like, oh no, this is just
Yeah.
this is just pure shy.
And I think I struggle with that sometimes too, is to kind of try and take feedback from those things too. It's like, oh, this didn't get a good reaction. Like sometimes, like I'll play a song live or something, I'm like, oh, this is gonna kill, and you get a very mild reaction, and you're like, oh,
It killed last time.
not what I wanted.
People were singing last time.
There was one good thing I saw recently. I feel like this podcast could be full of like, you know, inspirational quotes and shit. Like
Just clips of fucking
just like us,
inspiration.
like just running inspirational quotes
Yeah.
on Facebook. But it's like, even if 99% of the world hates what you're doing, that 1% equals like 400 million or something.
Yeah.
Right? You know, like there's so many people out there that even if the vast majority of people aren't digging what you're doing, even if you get 1% of the people, that's still a lot of people that are going to be into it. And then
I'd say 1% of people like most. You'll find 1% of people that like nearly everything.
everything. Going back to the comments we mentioned earlier, like,
Yeah.
like people siding with like scumbags and stuff.
Yeah.
It's like, if them boys are getting fans, like, and they're
Exactly.
doing like despicable things, like,
That's the thing. That's your cup of tea. Like, there's some other people that like your cup of tea. And look, I think, well, I don't know how long this has gone on for now.
it's been like 3
But,
hours.
no, this is brilliant. I really enjoyed
Yeah,
it.
I'm loving this one. This is
And,
my first official like sit down podcast. by the
No way, you're so good.
No, you've made me feel super comfortable.
Brilliant.
So
I will have to get you back when,
Absolutely, yeah.
when you do some stuff.
when the razzle dazzles are
when the razzle
are going on
dazzles.
tour, I'm like, here, bring the numbers with you. Will you?
Yeah.
Support band.
But anyway, look, we're gonna fucking leave it there for now.
Yeah, I think we've
we haven't exhausted, but we've tipped.
dissected life quite a bit there now. I feel like I'm gonna have a bit of a
Yeah.
bit of a crisis now, like at home.
A
Like,
reflectional crisis.
yeah, absolutely.
But anyway, look, we will leave it there and we'll catch you in the next one.